This is the place where it happens. 16 players will find out if they truly have what it takes to be the best.
Someone in this room will be crowned greatest in the world on Sunday. Let's just find out who it is. The 2023 Clash Royale League Finals starts now! On match number 1, 2023 World Finals. Mohamed Light needs a miracle!
My God.
Air Surfer with maybe the upset of the day. Great come from behind victory in game 2, but Faust still gonna be sent down to the lower bracket.
Miner gets on, can it do enough? No, it will not! Mugi wins this one by a hair! And
He's not even celebrating yet.
Come on, Arden, let's see the smile, let's go! And there you go, look at that. He has finally done it.
The tower, he's going to take it.
Vitor 75 moves on in the upper bracket.
Oh my God,
it's on tower. GG, well played, Pedro.
Morton is holding on for dear life, but that is going to be good game. Samuel Masoto getting revenge from last year.
The GOAT of Clash Royale is facing an elimination run.
And that's gonna be towered down. GG's.
And Mohamed Light stays alive.
And here's the fireball, ladies and gentlemen. Adriel gonna take it. GG's.
A nice 2 up, 2 down for Wallace. Going to be Ruben taking out Morton. Oh my.
Of all the things you could expect on day number 1, it's been exactly what you expect here at World Finals. There are 2 more days left. We'll see you back here tomorrow for day 2.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to day 2 of the Clash Royale League World Finals here in 2023. Day 1 was absolute pandemonium, starting with our defending world champion being sent down to the lower bracket, this time by Air Surfer in what could be the biggest upset of the tournament. But the thrills didn't stop there, especially for 2 players in Arden Toas and Pandora, who picked up their first ever match wins in World Finals. Plus, all 3 of our former world champions still remain, but only Mugi sitting in the upper bracket with a life to give. But perhaps the biggest story on the day was saying goodbye to the most respected player in Clash Royale, Morton, who has now given us 2 of the greatest moments in World Finals history.
Today is different than the last. It is a story not yet told. These players hold their own fate in the palm of their hands, and there's $820,000 in prizes yet to be earned. But with every rise, there must be a fall, which is why we are saying goodbye to half of our 12 remaining contenders. Without further ado, Clash Royale League World Finals Day 2 starts now!
Hello and welcome, everybody. I'm Rich Slayton, joined on the desk today by my friend Joshua A.C. Sharon, 2-time CRL Regional Champion, and we are here for day 2 of our World Finals. And as our compatriots mentioned downstairs, Josh, day 1 was full of surprises.
I mean, come on, there was predictions from everybody. And actually, I want to say, speaking of predictions, if you've predicted every single player so far, you can see into the future, nobody should be able to predict who is winning in day number 1. And yeah, it was just brilliant gameplay throughout.
It was phenomenal. Of course, let's take a look at how they're going to proceed throughout this competition. We began with 16. We are now down to 12 in our double elimination bracket. And as Juicy said, 6 more will go home today. We are doing best of 3 for these matches in the duel format. Any cards you play in game number 1, unavailable for the other up to 2 more matches. Same with game 2 and beyond. And of course, at the end of all of this, we will crown a new champion. And Josh, there's a lot of money left to give away.
That's right. All of the players that are left have now earned at least $30,000, and every single time you get another victory, it's going to be a pay jump of $10,000. And look, once you hit that top 4, that's when the money really starts to come in. First place, walking away with $250,000.
That is a lot of cash, but a lot of road ahead of these players to try to achieve that ultimate goal of not just the money, but maybe more importantly, Josh, the crown, the title of being the best in the world. And Taking a look at this upper bracket, Air Surfer and Higher both maybe underdogs in their opening matches, but showed up and showed out. Talking about the defending champions still in the mix, Mugi still with that life to give upper bracket against Arden Toas, who is now 1-14 in live play, but looking like he might add a few more wins to that docket. Pandora taking on Vitor, and then Pedro and Samuel Basoto. Sam coming off that beautiful performance against Morton down in the lower bracket, and this is where things get very interesting. Match number 17, the loser of Air Surfer versus Higher will face off against Ruben Wallace, awaiting his opponent as well, then Adriel, and then of course the loser of Pedro and Sam might set up another instant classic against the Pharaoh himself in round number 2, match number 20. So you go from playing against Sam or playing against Pedro to playing against the Pharaoh. That is a difficult road to a championship.
Yeah, I forgot that was the case. I had to circle match number 20 because that is going to be such an insane match. And look, all of these are going to be incredible. All the pressure in the entire world, and it's just who can perform on the biggest stage. Can you keep that composure? And so far, the players that are still in have done that.
And now we look at our predictions, and honestly, I didn't even want to give predictions today after how horrifically my calls and predictions went yesterday. And yes, if you did get more than half of them right, I suggest going to Las Vegas right now because you are absolutely lucky. All of us across the board picking Air Surfer, maybe a homer pick for that one, Mugi, the defending world champion, but we're pretty split along the board until we get to your boy, Samuel Basoto.
Yeah, that's right. And Pandora, that's going to be a very interesting match. And then Samuel Basoto, I mean, the way he played yesterday against Morton, yes, I mean, it was one of the, he said it on Twitter, that was the best match I've ever played. That's the best set that I've ever played. And for good reason. He messed up at the very end, but really that was 9, 10, 12 minutes of Clash Royale. That was perfect.
It was perfect, and he needs more perfection today if he's going to get to that championship, but we'll see him later. For now, let's kick things off on the floor with Andrew Gack.
Please welcome back to the stage the greatest ever player from NA and our 2019 World Finals runner-up. Give it up for Air Surfer and Higher!
An interesting pairing between these two. Both may be overlooked coming into this World Finals, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to overlook Air Surfer when you have to go against Mo round 1, but he absolutely proved that he is a man that you have to watch out for. And Higher, I am so excited to see him on the big stage where everybody I mean, he is a veteran. I feel like a lot of people weren't really recognizing that. They were downplaying his skill, but he's here. I mean, he's been here 4 separate times. This is a guy that you have to watch out for.
Well, he mentioned during his interview yesterday he was prepping with Solo Man and Elsiop. Elsiop, one of the all-time greats of the game. So, you know, we'd say iron sharpens iron. Being in the war room with those guys, getting ready for something like this, certainly important, and his decks were hard to pick. Look at the other side of things. Air Surfer yesterday opened up with Goblin Giant, kind of a Goblin Giant Rage, crazy deck. Expectations today from me, Josh, is that he goes with something maybe more cycle, maybe more flexible, a control deck, something that matches up against the unpredictable, hard-to-read deck pick of a guy who didn't play in CRL all season.
Yeah, that's a great point. You want to control the match, kind of force your opponent. It's basically, do you think you're better than your opponent? And the great thing is, all these players are always going to think that, and so you want to run those control decks that allow you to just slow down the gameplay.
Well, let's go ahead and see how these two come out for game number 1, starting now. And yesterday, as I said, trying to come out for matchup, it felt like, with Air Surfer game number 1. This game, he's in against an unpredictable opponent. Deck-wise, I think he goes for, like I said, I think he goes for control here. And you see you hear the applause, that's the patented Air Surfer emote. I think it's the only one he actually has.
Yeah, and right there, Miner coming out from Air Surfer, and so it's exactly what we were talking about. He wants to go control, probably gonna be a quick cycle, maybe control Miner, poison, log kind of deck.
And a little slowdown here as we're seeing again the evolved bats and Mega Knight one more time out of Hire, who yesterday ran that Mega Knight Ram Rider deck. A little different here, doesn't have the lightning obviously, and not gonna be the same construction. We'll see what he puts together though with this big MK.
Ooh, and right there does mess up the delivery placement, so that's going to allow the Mega Knight to take it out just a little bit faster. We're gonna see if it affects the game, and right there, that's some Bats chip damage only because he messed up that delivery placement. I wanna see him clean that up as the game goes along.
Maybe just a Goblin Giant beatdown deck out of Hire in this situation, and if that's the case here, Josh, how do you feel about what you see out of Air Surfer?
Yeah, Hire tends to, it's weird, he just doesn't like the Sparky in these Goblin Giant decks. And yeah, I mean, Hire just seems very comfortable with it, trying to stay on his side of the map. With these big tank decks, your towers are often going to be, you're just going to be controlling your side of the match.
He should have the little Prince here as well. Actually, I believe Faust ran this against Hire in the first game. Hire ended up defeating him with that deck, but decided maybe he can do a little better than his opponent. And a little Fireball Rage to pull the little Prince off. Now trying to go all in is Hire. Miner to pull and get everything in the middle, but one bat doing more damage on that right-hand tower, and Hire opening up the lead by about 300 HP.
Yeah, right there. Hire's doing a great job of applying pressure, getting the value with the Evo'd bats, and just resetting once again. Air Surfer needs to figure out a way to get past this. The Fireball Rage combination is always getting the Little Prince, as well as at least the tower, or at least another troop. Maybe Air Surfer needs to try and spread out the troops just a little bit more.
And just controlling in the middle right now. Mega Knight goes to the Evolved Knight. Little Prince gets shredded. Now Miner going for some damage, but Goblin Giant, Mega Knight, Brawler all in. Delivery trying to control. Rage trying to break through. Keep in mind, no lightning, so can't immediately take that Little Prince off. And knowing the Rage is down, Air Surfer happy to put it in that clumpy spot.
Yeah, great defense right there. That Evo Knight is going to work wonders, and a beautiful activation of the ability. Mega Knight gonna get taken down to about half health, and right there, just defending. He got a little bit of chip damage, but that's what it is with these Miner poison control decks. You only get a few opportunities to really get that good offense going, and you have to defend the rest of the way.
Final 2 minutes, very tight between these two. Left side, completely untouched. Right side, 2485 to 2330, as Hire sets up for something big on the left-hand lane.
Mega Knight going to take out all the goblins. Air Surfer not going to try and protect them with the Knight. Instead, just going to rely on the Evo Knight plus Bomb Tower to take out this push.
So what's the time here where, and oh boy, that's a lot to deal with, and the Goblin Giant does get a little bit on tower. Now it's going to be 2 lanes. A big problem here for Air Surfer to deal with. Goblin Giant plus bats on the right-hand side. Guardian comes out, but too little too late. That might be it. Hire takes game number 1.
Right there, Air Surfer was controlling the match the entire way, but Hire just needed that one opportunity, and he did a great job of splitting up the pressure, making Air Surfer worry about the left lane, and he just forgot about the right.
And yeah, that's the hard part about a deck like this, that does have the ability to create dual lane pressure in ways you don't expect, right? We think of split cards that create dual lane pressure, hogs, recruits, things like that. But this is the Goblin Giant decks overall create unique split lane pressure for a beatdown deck.
Yeah, and I think one of the things to watch out for is those minions plus the bats getting paired up in the same deck. It created a lot of havoc for Air Surfer because the delivery can only take out one of those troops.
And getting behind the evolved bats here, and you see Air Surfer has to respect those bats first, and they go ahead and just absolutely decimate that Knight, and at that point, you got Rage there, you got bats there, you got Goblin Giant there. GG, well played. Hire takes the lead.
Yeah, it looked like Hire was really trying to set it up the entire time, make sure that either the Bomb Tower was out of cycle or he only had 6 elixirs, so that way, once he activated the ability, the Evo bats would be able to come through. It really looked like Hire was set up to be able to destroy Air Surfer once that exact interaction was set up for him.
So Mega Knight out, Fireball out, Little Prince out for hire at this point. Goblin Giant as well. It feels like that opens up maybe some sort of Fireball bait deck, potentially Royal Hogs, especially with Mega Knight out here.
Yeah, you have to think that is going to play into that. And then I'm thinking on the other side, Air Surfer, Miner, Log, Little Prince is out as well. We should see maybe an Archer's Evo deck. We've seen a lot of Archers this weekend. The meta really has formed already from day one. We're seeing Archer's Evo, we're seeing Little Prince in every deck, Lightning, Gob Giant, and it's just cycling between 3 to 5 different decks every single set.
Well, that's the interesting question for Air Surfer now, is he has to be kind of, as he's making his picks on his side offensively, has to be thinking about those defenses, right? Are you facing Bomb Tower, and would you want Earthquake, or are you facing something else? More on that in a minute. First, let's jump into our second stanza of this opening match. So to continue the thought from before, you might be facing, if you are running pigs, you might want to get past a Bomb Tower, but then again, you are possibly facing against the Evolved Archers. Spell choice in that situation, very different for those two cards.
Yeah, we saw Air Surfer actually in Muhammad Light's game. Once he knew that Muhammad Light still had the Archers available for game number 2, he went with the Arrows plus Snowball. I believe we could see Arrows plus Snowball once again.
And split lane possibility, arrows, zappies for Air Surfer, recruits for hire. And with both spells out, a great time to go in with the Goblin Barrel. No Bar Barrel, no arrows, easy damage here for hire in the opening minute.
Yeah, so it looks like Air Surfer could be going to Royal Hogs, just like you were talking about earlier. And I believe Hire used this in game number 3 yesterday with the Mighty Miner Royal Recruits just pressure. Faust, with the heavier control deck, was not able to keep up with it once Triple Elixir happened.
Dart Goblin picked up by the Flying Machine. It will get cleared and Fireball out, so how will Hire contend with the Flying Machine long term? And you see a little shake of the head here, maybe not quite happy with that placement.
Yeah, and right here, Hire, with only one card available, has not used one of his spells, so you have to assume that it is going to be very difficult for him to take out these Zappies and these Flying Machines. We talk about it all the time. When Flying Machine is available and your opponent does not have Fireball, you just basically play the Flying Machine every single time it's in your hand.
And there are the Royal Hogs, so Fireball bait was the call out of Air Surfer and his coach, Allen. Getting their progressions down, and here we go with kind of a tricky barrel here. No difficulty for the best in NA.
Yeah, it feels like Trickster barrels don't really work in single elixir. Once double elixir happens, that's when a lot of people are gonna panic.
Well, he's against Bar Barrel too. It feels like that maybe was a little extra of a tricky barrel, right? You might want to be more a tile off rather than 3 tiles off.
Exactly, totally agree with that. You want it to look like it's going to be getting to the tower right there. It did not, and a good, healthy push. That is a Flying Machine locked on the tower, and Hire only has 2 elixir right now. That tower is going to get down very, very low.
And it tries to go for some pressure the opposite direction, but no worries there for Air Surfer, Bar Barrel, and Cycle, and he has opened up a massive lead as we go into the final 30.
Right there, I believe the Firecracker is going to activate the King Tower as well. So this is a gorgeous deck choice from the coach of Air Surfer. I mean, they are firing on all cylinders right now. Bar Barrel, arrows, Fireball, and quick pressure with the Flying Machine of Royal Hogs. Everything about this deck is brilliant.
And I really like that Fireball there from Air Surfer, thinking more, hey, I'm not worried about losing 1 elixir here. What I don't want is an annoying Dart Goblin to sit there and create lots of problems for me. And this is fascinating too, not just a Pig's Fireball bait deck in a situation where you're not against Fireball, but triple spell here, Bar Barrel, arrows, and Fireball for Air Surfer.
Yeah, and right now, 2 of the Royal Hogs are gonna get onto the tower, plus they help with a Fireball. Air Surfer going to take game number 2, bringing our first match to a game 3. Woo! What a way to open up the day.
We are all tied up, and that's what you kind of hope for from this point forward, right? A pitched battle back and forth between every one of our competitors as the day goes on.
Yeah, and you have to take a look at Hire's deck. He used the Royal Recruits Mighty Miner Wallbreakers deck in game number 3. I feel like it's very early to already start repeating decks that people have seen from you this weekend.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look first at this Flying Machine lock that gets on in, and this was just a little difficulty of control. The Pigs get out in front, that Recruit's distracted, and then here you go. Pigs in, and neither the Firecracker nor the Dark Goblin can get anywhere near that Flying Machine. Fireball comes in, and Firecracker takes a long time to get up there, and that's pretty much GG at that point.
Yeah, and right there, Airsurfer actually delayed on the Fireball. I believe he delayed because he knew the only way he's losing this game at this point is if he overextends. So he waits so that way he has enough elixir to Fireball on offense and still be able to Bar Barrel on defense, Goblin Cage on defense, and not overextend. That was a great play to wait on the Fireball from Airsurfer.
Now here's the big question for you now, Josh, is as we go into game number 3, Airsurfer has now played 6 spells. Poison, Fireball, Delivery, Log, Bar Barrel, Arrows, all gone. So that feels like it can pigeonhole him pretty heavily, right? Either he's going Lightning, Rocket, or EQ spell-wise, most likely. It feels like that gives some pretty nice picking directions for Hire overall.
Yeah, really, Airsurfer is blessed that Hire does not have Royal Recruits in cycle. Because if Hire just took the deck that he used in game number 2 and used it against him in game number 3, I think even if you knew your opponent was running that Royal Recruits deck, you still would not be able to counter it.
Now with Fireball out and a lot of sort of mid-sized cards out, do you think maybe for Hire something with the Mother Witch might be a good direction?
Yeah, and we've seen Mother Witch have a ton of success yesterday. We'll see if it happens again today. Game number 3 on its way.
Cannon and Cage buildings that are both out on the side of Hire. I don't anticipate him running an Inferno Tower, maybe something heavy out of Airsurfer. And we don't have to wait long to find out. And Airsurfer immediately bucks my ideas and goes Spear Goblins at the bridge.
A lot of chip damage, though, to defend with Goblin King and still give up 350, 400 damage. You have to think, was he not paying attention? I don't know.
And Mortar both directions, and Mortar EQ for Airsurfer. So is this Mortar Hog maybe?
Yeah, we could see that. Royal Hogs not allowed from him after using it in game number 2. Hire on the other side. I mean, the Cannon Cart is going to be a great defense right there. Barbs being used as the evolution. Now you just have to wait and see Snowball going to be the other spell from Airsurfer.
And Miner with some still alive minions behind, Spears and Gang to control. So Airsurfer certainly seeming not worried at all about the Mother Witch as a possibility going into this one.
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit of chip damage. Spear Goblin's going to get the tower down to 2647. I was really worried that it was going to be a lot more higher, only defending with the archers. And I mean, I think you gave a shout out to Surgical the other day. You can just, you don't have to spend a ton of elixir on defense. You gotta play it smart.
This is the second set in a row that Hire has run Monk here at our World Finals, and very interesting it's not super popular in the CRL meta at this stage. And here we go, like I said, Mortar Hog, and it's getting right behind. Mortar not available, Snowball in, Hog Rider going hog wild on the left-hand side, Mortar lock, and that is a huge lead, and that's gonna be a good game out of both players, and now Airsurfer just has to defend for 1 minute.
Airsurfer licking his lips, takes the tower down. All he has to do is defend out, and it's going to be so easy. Hire does not have the evolution on top of the Mortar. He's going to be able to Earthquake every single time. Skeleton Dragons coming out. We hear the oohs and ahs from the crowd.
And this is just shut down gameplay out of Airsurfer. And you talk about those progressions deck by deck, game by game. You see the small little smile on Airsurfer's face. I think he knows that he's in a great spot here. But that little deck progression and the work these coaches and analysts put in with their players to prepare for the deck picking process. Saw a great post by Royale API's SML. That's a nice reflection here. That's a lockman on the right-hand side. Let's hold on for 1 second. Evo Barbs come out. Arrows try to clear. Cannon Cart does go down. A little sigh of relief from Airsurfer as he knows he just dodged the most most dangerous bullet of these final few seconds.
Yeah, right there. I really thought there was a chance for Hire to be able to make that comeback. Air Surfer trying to get a 3 crown right now. A little bit of disrespect shown. I love to see that in game number 1, set number 1.
And that's it, Air Surfer going through to the upper bracket semifinals. 2 matches up, 2 matches won, and he is deep in our World Finals. Look at that celebration.
Huge celebration from Air Surfer. Give him the thumbs up. There's the coach, giving a little love to the coaches. Love to see that from the cameraman.
Yeah, I would have expected maybe a bit more excitement out of Alan, but he's not the most excitable of characters either way. A lot to celebrate right now as they have moved very, very close. Remember, I said before we started this weekend, you only have to win 5 matches to win the World Championship. Air Surfer has now won 2 out of those 5.
Yeah, and I mean, we have to take, okay, all right. Let's get an interview because I want to hear his thoughts.
All right, Air Surfer, first question, most important question. Did you run Mortar for me or did you run Mortar for you?
I ran it as part of the strategy, kind of set it up for his game plan for Game 3 and thought it would be good for me to use, so also for you, though.
Hey, okay, I like that. All right, now the real questions. Okay, Game 1, a pretty dominant win by your opponent. What went on in your mind between Game 1 and Game 2? Because you really reset beautifully.
So Game 1, I felt like I didn't play that good. I wasn't really warmed up, wasn't pressuring well, defending well. But then Game 2, had a good matchup, felt better, and played much better that game.
Perfect through 2 matches. Pretty big deal, man. How's that feel?
Feels great. I'm already in the top 6, which is what happened last year, and hoping to do better this year. Also, I would like the production to please let me wear the watermelon shirt if possible.
You hear the demands from the man right here, and the crowd wants it as well. Back to you, boys.
All right. I mean, look, I'm not in charge of much here, but can we get him the watermelon shirt? I mean, wow, I don't think I've ever heard a plea like that at World Finals, but you know what? If you keep on winning, you can wear that watermelon shirt, I guess, in your victory pictures.
I did not expect it from Air Surfer.
No,
I mean,
know.
he's not a diva whatsoever. This is just the one time that he's asking politely to just give him a chance. Let him show it off.
And you know what? Let's take it back to the Clash Royale here for a moment. I really liked what he was talking about with the deck progression. Get into that game number 3. And starting with game number 1 here, you see a couple times in a row, and these decks, we'll reverse these for those of you at home watching. That left-hand side is actually Air Surfer's deck, and triple spell in both of the first 2 games. Not a great situation for Air Surfer here in the first one, but Goblin Giant, Mega Knight, and the Fireball out, so we get to game number 2, and that's where Air Surfer goes and plays pretty much classic Clash Royale. No Mega Knight, no Fireball. Let's go Fireball, make it those Royal Hogs on the board.
Yeah, you don't have to make it hard on yourself. If you know that your opponent cannot use those cards, why not? It's hard to snipe it. And we saw right there in game number 2, he was able to use that momentum, get a game number 3 going, and we saw what happened.
And we're being joined now by the World Cyber Games champion, Jackson Juicy J. Wall. Juicy, this was a really, really fun match for all of us to watch, and it just kind of felt like Air Surfer really took control midway through game 2 and ran away with game 3. Your thoughts on what we just saw?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when it came to game 1, it was a small mistake. The Little Prince in the back in the wrong lane. But like you said, game 2 took control. In game 3, this is the most important moment of the match. Biggest thing here I want to spotlight is this monk. This monk is way too expensive. You'd much rather have a knight or something like this to tank this. Mortar comes in, it takes a shot. Higher decides to pop the ability to deflect these mortar shots back. At this point, though, look at Air Surfer's elixir bar. It's at 10 elixir. Evil Barb's the bridge. He knows how expensive that monk is, and he knows that he can pressure. Barb's bridge, Hog Rider bridge. Hog Rider gets the tower, and the mortar locked. The cannon cart was late. Let me rewind that for y'all. Cannon cart was milliseconds too late here. It just locks on, and what that allows is this Hog Rider is able to get even more damage because the mortar kills half of that Goblin game. And the game was over just like that.
And phenomenal picking and phenomenal analysis there, Juicy. And this was just an easy, quick run through by Air Surfer. And you know, we were talking about kind of the danger he was placed himself in by going triple spell both the first 2 games and put together a deck that I think covered very well, considering the position he was in.
Yeah, and right there, watching that replay over again, I love that you chose that one. He missed one of the goblins with the snowball, and I believe he did that on purpose because the second mortar shot that was coming in was able to get that last goblin off of the board. No panic whatsoever. He just knows his interactions every single time.
Some of the cleanest gameplay that we've seen here so far, but of course, we still have a ton of top tier players left. And of course, we'll see more of Higher since he was in the winner's bracket, but for now, we have more winner's bracket action coming your way. Andrew, what's up next?
Our next match is between our 2021 world champion and another back-to-back golden ticket winner who's coming off his first big World Finals wins. It's Moogie and Arden Toas.
And Josh, I'll let you kick this one off, as I know if there's anybody here who's a big fan of that guy right there, Moogie, it's the man sitting next to me.
I mean, I was trying to take notes on his games yesterday, and I really wasn't coming up with anything. All of his gameplay right there, it was just patience, patience, patience. My opponent made a very tiny, minuscule mistake. Oh, he wasted 0.7 elixir too much. He can't afford to activate an ability. He can't afford to get the fireball down the lane, and he attacked in that exact moment. I just don't understand how he can make those kind of plays on the big stage.
And that's experience, right? Moogie has been in Clash Royale League at the top level for quite a long time, a part of the World Finals team for Ponos, and then a World Championship the year after that. And of course, if you look at this one, no big surprises here. 82% of you picking the 2021 World Champion. But let's not overlook what Arden Toas might be able to do if he has gotten over the nerves that plagued him so much in the past. Let's go ahead and get this game kicked off to see if he has solved that riddle here at World Finals. And we are hearing some big cheers for Moogie down on the floor as the camera flies in for this matchup. No big surprises here. There are many more fans of Moogie besides my co-host here and his roommate.
Right there, Arden getting very aggressive, going in with the Hog Ice Spirit, going to be able to get one shot. Arden Toas, and great Tesla placement. I mean, he did not have a lot of elixir. If he had gotten predicted right there, that could have been very dangerous for him.
So slight variations on Hog from these two players, assuming that Arden is also playing Earthquake. I feel like, Josh, we saw very little Tesla until this World Finals.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, not afraid, even though he did lose already. He was part of that creation of the new meta. People understanding that maybe Tesla shouldn't be overlooked so much.
Mighty Miner cycled in the back for Arden. We'll see if Moogie is also running a champion here for that 3-card cycle. As we know, a lot of the CRL meta has begun. Oh, and a missed Tesla out of Arden Toas, snowball in, and 2 games in a row where Hog Riders slide on through for a ton of damage.
Yeah, and we see it right there. This is the reason why some of these pro players do not run the Tesla. It is a hard card to play down. To not make a mistake in 5 minutes is actually a challenge for a lot of players. And right there, we're already seeing it. 1 minute into the game, we see the first misclick of the day, the real first misclick of the day.
And so, as we were talking about, Moogie going more with the Evo meta, not playing a champion in this deck. Whereas Arden Toas trying to get that 3-card cycle. Thoughts on, barring this Tesla mistake we saw earlier, thoughts on how these two decks match up?
Yeah, that's right. Moogie, I mean, it's just so hard to be able to decipher what is what the matchup should be just because of that one mistake. Arden Toas, just the fact that he's running the Goblins should have been able to create a lot of pressure because you can't log it down with the snowball, obviously. And instead, we don't really get to see that anymore.
Hog to the right-hand side should get one despite the skeletons, and it does. Evo Firecracker out for Arden Toas, and we'll see if he can defend against this Hog and keep that Firecracker up to create some opposite lane pressure.
Yeah, and this regular Firecracker actually putting in a lot of work. The Evo Firecracker was not able to get those shots on top of the regular one. And right now, double Firecracker down in the right lane. Arden Toas trying to set up a push, but to no avail so far, especially with that great Tesla placement once again.
And you saw the Ice Spirit nearly making enough room for the Firecracker evolved to stay alive, but you just can't pull the fast ones on Moogie.
Yeah, and right now, Moogie not worried about the right lane. Left lane is going to be the more important one to worry about. Moogie just trying to set himself up so that way he can go with the Earthquake Snowball cycle on top of the tower. Maybe create a little bit of pressure with the Hog, but at this point, he's really just trying to get chipped from those Earthquakes.
And you can see that right there, not even worrying about trying to get the Earthquake onto the Tesla is Moogie, and now we see two Firecrackers behind a Hog on the right-hand side. Tesla with the Ice Spirit trying to take something out, and this Hog trying to sneak by, but already too much damage on the board to get it anywhere near that right-hand tower.
Yeah, and that one Firecracker getting just a little bit of chip damage tonight, not able to get the shot. So because of the health and how, I mean, we're seeing good pushes from Arden. We love to see him give himself a chance. That's exactly what you need to do at these World Finals.
Well, that's the big problem here, Josh, is with that Tesla mistake earlier, he didn't really give himself the chance that he needed. This is a match that feels like, from what we're seeing right now, would have been a lot closer had we not had that one misplacement.
Yeah, and that's all it takes at the World Finals. I mean, Arden, even at the very end, he's still making great plays, trying to go beat Hog in the back, cycling the Firecrackers, but it's just not gonna matter. 330 HP is the real number you have to be looking at. 5 Elixir, I mean, we're just...
Oh boy.
Okay, giving himself a chance once again.
Late Tesla here, Hog in. And now Hog Rider trying to get past this one, 28 seconds left. Ice, Snowball, one connection, 330, 994, 23 seconds left, and it's just all Arden, all pressure, all day right now, all gas, no brakes. Can he break through?
Right there, Tesla plus the Knight going to be able to take out the Hog, and he's going to go in with his own offensive Hog. The Ice Spirit plus the Goblins trying to do a little bit of something. Not going to matter. Moogie taking game number 1, finally gets that tower down.
And you see Moogie also taking a pretty big breath there as well, knowing that he got pretty close to throwing what was a massive lead.
Yeah, I mean, and it's going to be, it's just... You get that early damage and you start to realize, okay, technically all I need to do is Earthquake, Snowball. So then sometimes you're using the spells just a little bit too freely.
Sure.
And Arden did a great job of recognizing that and stacking those Firecrackers. The Snowball plus the Earthquake didn't really do enough to take out those Firecrackers.
And here we go, taking a look at the first miss Tesla, and that's not even, being pushed away by a troop. That is just a straight up miss, Josh.
Yeah, and right there, Moogie, I mean, as soon as he sees the misclick Tesla, it's boom, I need to place the Snowball down. He's obviously going to also have to respond with the Goblins, and so great recognition on cycle. If your opponent makes a mistake, you always have to just, you just have to capitalize on that.
And you saw the Hog Rider there being kind of pushed away from the Tesla. Arden Toas maybe a half tile away from getting a much more dangerous breakthrough than we saw there at the end.
Yeah, right there. It's kind of just what we expect. Arden getting a little bit too aggressive, making a few mistakes. Moogie on the other side, just perfect gameplay for the most part, and then no mistakes whatsoever. The live stage is built for him.
I mean, he's been doing it very well for a very long time. Talking about what they played in game number 1, notice that both played Hog Snowball, neither played Log in that first game. So cycle options still open for both players, and I expect that maybe Arden goes that direction as he does seem to be a bit more comfortable as a cycle player.
Yeah, right there. Let me, okay, so Moogie yesterday ran E-Giant Lightning Bowler, a little bit of RG as well. One of the few players to run Evo'd RG. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw that again because RG going to be using Log, Little Prince. We didn't see that in his first game. E-Giant Lightning. Just those two decks are so strong with him using it.
Well, let's wait no more and go check out what they do here in game number 2. And here we go, jumping into the action. And it seems that the chicken emote will be the first thing that comes out every single time. Shout out Heyday. So Lumberjack for Arden against a minor cycle variant for Mugi.
Royal Recruits coming out from Arden. We've seen Royal Recruits Lumberjack Ram Rider earlier yesterday. We could be seeing that once again. On the other side, Evo Archers. We expect to see that every single set.
And Skeleton Dragons, lots to deal with here, plenty of elixir to deal with it. And those recruits on the right-hand side, not a concern as Mugi poisons them off the board. He will have a little bit of a Mighty Miner to force out some elixir from Arden, but overall this will be pretty much even Stevens after our first minute.
Getting aggressive with a miner, going to be getting a lot of chip damage, a lot of shovels on top of the tower, getting it down to 2749, 300 HP worth of damage. Always great value from a miner to be able to get that amount of chip damage.
A nice little wall breaker kite there on the Brawler and goes coast to coast for the connection as well.
Pretty solid log timing, going to allow the Goblins to clean everything up, but not going to get any pressure whatsoever because of those Evo Royal Recruits.
Passing the midway point of our first 3 minutes, and Mugi has opened up about a 300 hit point lead in both lanes, and now the first Evolved Archers come out. Good fireball to clear them off the board. But again, a wall breaker goes all the way.
Yeah, he's doing such a great job because Arden Toas, he has a lot of 3-4 elixir cards. When he gets those good offensive pushes going, he's not going to have the 1 elixir Skellies or Ice Spirit or Log. He has none of those troops inside his deck. So just, you're always going to be able to defend and then kite with those wall breakers.
And just playing very slow is Mugi. Almost everything being played behind King Tower, not trying to get into too many bridge fights right now, as we know that's exactly what Arden wants, playing this Ram Rider deck.
Poison just going to miss the Mother Witch. Great placement right there, and Arden Toas is going to be using that Ram Rider deck. Archers should be able to take everything out nicely, even with the help of the arrows. That is just great defense. 1 shot from the Royal Recruit, but that's okay. In a good spot is Mugi.
And Cage gonna pick up those wall breakers, and it seems like Arden is feeling the pressure to use those spells offensively, including the arrows, not giving him that option on defense against these wall breaker pushes.
Yeah, Mugi having no problems whatsoever on defense, even with the help of the spells on offense from Arden Toas, doing a great job just making sure that he has enough elixir. Beautiful activation of the ability, and that's going to be a Ram Rider push that is going to be going down easily.
And you see the fireball coming in for the Evolved Archer, for the Bomb Tower, just cannot do enough. And now arrows go left, which means the Miner and these Goblins go to the right easily. Mother Witch should go down. She does turn some piggies, but that's easy to deal with for Mugi.
Yeah, because of the Miner in the back, Arden Toas was faced with a decision. Where can he place the Mother Witch where it's not going to start targeting onto the Miner instead of the Goblins? And because of that, Mugi was able to take out the Mother Witch, no problem whatsoever.
And there we go, finally some decent fireball value for Arden as he gets 1 Archer and the wall breakers, but again, stretching him thin is the 2021 champion. 832 on the right-hand side, courtesy of those Miner hits.
Yeah, right here, Lumberjack going to come down the lane, not going to go in with the Ram Rider, just going to try and set up with a little bit of a push. It's going to be a little bit dangerous. This is a good push, but it's countered very, very easily. My
now-
mistake, Moogie.
I was gonna say, now we start to have an Elixir advantage here for Arden, which he has not had very much. And here in Triple Elixir, this is where he can create some real danger, as he was up about 5 when he played those evolved recruits.
Evo Archers cycled in the back, Goblins to take out the right side with the help of the Mighty Miner. Not using the bomb tower just yet, just going to delay it so that way the Royal Recruits don't take it out. I really like that he delayed the use of the bomb tower.
And look at the delay on the Ram Rider play, but still can't find a way through. These archers are creating a wall in the back of that defense.
Right now, Walbrook is at the bridge. Miner going to chip it down. Good game coming from Arden Toes. Needs a little bit more defense. Arden Toes stepping away from the stage. It looks like it's going to be over. Moogie taking game number 2. Clean gameplay. Moogie coming out from the crowd. Moogie, Moogie, Moogie.
Little shout out there for our replay SME with the Moogie, Moogie, Moogie call, and a big win there as you see some of Moogie's friends very excited and happy for their compatriot. And this was just exactly what you expect. Always in control, never in doubt, had maybe a half moment in game number 1 where he seemed maybe a little bit concerned, but weathered that storm easily. Other than that, just perfect gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, you have to assume with Moogie and how brilliant he is, he wasn't worried. That was fine. I want to hear his thoughts. Andrew, let's hear it.
Moogie, an absolutely perfect 4-0 through 2 days. How do you do it?
この2つの日なんです、2日間は4-0になって完璧な試合2つあったんですけれども緊張がすごく高いと思うんですけれどもどうやってこれを処理しますか？
処理の仕方はちょっと分かんないんですけどもう本当に深呼吸試合中にちょっと台に手をつくのが個人的には落ち着きます。
So I don't know how I deal with the pressure exactly. I just whenever I'm on stage, I just try to do my own thing, like just play the game and go one by one, and well, somehow it works.
That sounds pretty easy, right? Yeah. Okay, how about this? You've got Air Surfer next up. He's also played very well through the last 2 days, last 2 matches. How do you feel about matching up against Air?
次の試合はASF 対戦なんですけれども選手も本当にすごくいい対戦ができたんですけれどもこのマッチアップはどう思いますか？
モハメド・ライト選手にも勝ってるのですごい強敵だとは思うんですけど、全力でぶつかろうと思います。
I mean, he beat Mohamed Light, so obviously he's gonna be a tough opponent. But I'm gonna play my game and I'm gonna beat him.
All right, calling him out. Let's hear it one more time for Moogie. Back to you guys.
Did I just hear I'm going to beat him coming from one of the players? You love to see it. Oh, the emotions. This is what we want. Moogie, Air Surfer, our first finalized matchup in the top 6 for both of these players. Something you really want to see because, I mean, they did it last year. They're doing it again. This is fun. This is fun. I'm glad they're here.
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about it off cam, in the back, and it's like Moogie Air Surfer. We all knew that was a very high probable possibility. And I cannot wait to watch it because the other thing is, I don't know who to pick. It's such a tough call.
Oh, yeah.
They're both great.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the 2021 world champion, and then we have, or 2022, right? Yep. And then
21,
sorry.
21, yep.
And then we have the Air Surfer, I mean, the best player in North America, a multiple-time World Finalist. He's one of the most consistent players in all of Clash Royale history.
Yeah, and I mean, he's playing well right now. He was able to take out Mo Light in round number 1. Both players playing absolutely phenomenally, and we expect to see more of that from them over the next few days. So Moogie and Air Surfer moving on to the next round.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about that last match? I just found it so fascinating how well he was able to defend with that 3-card cycle with the Mighty Miner, cycling multiple poisons. And the other thing is, the building just matters so much. That bomb tower for the Royal Recruits was just fantastic. And I mean, I was very impressed with the deck picks all around.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you have to take a look at the bomb tower specifically because it wasn't always for the Royal recruits. He recognized sometimes, hey, you know, if the Evo recruits aren't going to be in cycle, it's not really going to be a problem. My Evo archers are going to be able to take it out. So now I have to worry about the Ram Rider, and I'm going to save the bomb tower for that. So it's just these little tricky plays that a lot of us aren't really thinking about. He just automatically recognizes it 20 seconds into the game, 10 seconds into the game. It doesn't take long.
I'm so glad you said that because Air Surfer, or Mugi didn't actually have the Ice Spirit in his deck, which a lot of timers use to defend that Ram Rider. So saving that for specific moments was so well played.
Yeah, and right now I want to take a look at the bracket. So far today, round number 1, Air Surfer was able to take out higher 2-1. Mugi with another 2-0, the first player to go 2-0-2-0 so far.
Wow.
Upcoming matches, Pandora versus Vitor75 and Pedro and Samuel Basoto. Both of those matches are going to be absolutely phenomenal, but you have to take a look. Both of the Brazilians still in there. One of them is going to take out the other.
I know, 2 monster matchups here. I'm gonna talk about Pandora versus Vitor right now because that's the most upcoming match. Pandora, he played against Wallace yesterday. He won 2-1, but I could tell he was visibly nervous, a couple mistakes here and there. And Vitor, not afraid, 2-0 sweep. Vitor is looking fantastic here.
Yeah, and right now, I want to hear more about those 2 players. Rich, take it away.
Coming up next, we have 2 golden ticket winners who kicked off their World Finals with a bang. It's Pandora and Vitor.
All right, 2 guys coming off of a very, very successful day 1, and honestly, Juicy, 2 incredibly confident individuals after day 1. How are you feeling about this said matchup?
You know, I'm feeling great. Like I said, both amazing players, but I also said Vitor got a 2-0 sweep yesterday versus Not Afraid, and he's got so much experience.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it? I think it's his 5th World Finals, and it's just like, no, yeah, 4 5th World Finals, and he's so fantastic because of that live experience. He knows what to do, and he's come here to do it.
Yeah, you know, and it was one of those things about Pandora finally getting that live stage victory that was so important. When we talk about their competition in terms of Wallace and Not Afraid, you know, we're much more familiar with Wallace than we are with Not Afraid, and it was one of those things where it felt like maybe Vitor had the easier of the 2 matchups. Hard to say, though, because of how the rest of that day kind of played out. This feels like a really true test of how far these individuals are going to go here in 2023.
Absolutely, and I said absolutely again, but
Absolutely, that's okay.
yeah. Here are the match percentages here. Actually, Pandora
Yeah.
going to be the favorite here. That's fascinating. I'm not sure if I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you were saying that Pandora was saying that he was one of the most, if not the most underrated player out there. Like you said, though, Vitor going 2-0. A lot of mortar coming out today. Vitor was happy to run that in game number 1, going back against Not Afraid, but we'll see if he changes things up here against Pandora. Both of these gentlemen going a little quick and loose in their game number 1s. We saw Valk minor mortar out of Vitor, and of course out of Pandora it was minor control, but then as they got into game number 2 and 3, they both kind of slowed things down and increased the weight of their deck. So it'll be interesting to see if they start off with the exact same pace, and so far with Skelly's non-evolved, it's looking like it could be that way.
Pigs at the bridge from Pandora. And we have a fisherman in contention here, but it's not going to activate King Tower. You need a full health pig to be able to activate King Tower versus these piggies.
And that is a great call by you, Juice. Looking like we could be seeing Royal Giant at the bottom of our screen.
Yeah.
Probably an Evo to RG, which is a little interesting just because a lot of people think that Evo to RG is one of the worst Evos in the game now, but we've seen it have some success here. Mugi yesterday, and maybe Vitor here today, and obviously top of your screen, Evo to Archers, no surprise there, Juice.
Royal Giant just barely not getting a hit here, and Pandora up quite a bit of damage in this situation. Pandora having great defense, like you said, with that Tesla. The big thing I want to mention here is that Fire Spirit, though. That Fire Spirit not going to be able to freeze up these Royal Giants. Ice Spirit is so imperative for defense versus that.
Yeah, that's a really, really great point that you make, especially once that Evo to RG comes out. You want to be able to drop units on top of it, but really for Pandora, I feel like his best response is going to be those Archers throughout.
Yeah, especially the Evo Archers, right? Because you just play them on the opposite lane of your Tesla and prevent that fireball value. And a lot of the time, the damage that they have can be enough, even with just a log, to help support.
Against the other top 16 players out there, we look and see that Pandora has a 67% win rate with Royal Hogs, and then hopping over to his opponent in Vitor, a 70% win rate with Royal Giant.
70%, that is solid. Nothing compared to Molight's win percentage with RG. We saw that the other day, unbelievably. But, I mean, we do have a bowler in the right-hand lane here. It's making it so that these pigs on the left-hand side are getting quite a bit of damage. Evo Archer is getting a lot of value. That egg will survive.
And Egg does survive. We'll see if Vitor wants to double down on that. Said he does, in a way, by going RG in the back. Do you like that play instead of going aggressive at the bridge?
It makes sense right now. Bowler does somehow chip that Tesla down. So now when the RG gets to the bridge, Pandora's going to need another Tesla and cycle.
And Fisherman goes in front there, Juice, but then stops because of the Archers. Really nice placement there by Vitor as he has a second Royal Giant coming out.
2 RGs, this is what RG's all about. We have double connection on both sides. Royal Delivery coming down, Lightning gonna clip a couple skeletons, but Vitor is gonna knock back and get some damage here, but he's not in the good yet.
Yeah, you know, an interesting Lightning there, but I think the thing to hold on to is that Vitor wasn't actually down in any elixir. Now Pandora goes those Evo to Archers once again at the bridge. Something behind, maybe?
Evo Archers are on tower!
One's on tower!
Oh! 7 to 192 already on the right-hand lane.
And that is a huge misstep by Vitor, who honestly wasn't really in a bad position, but maybe just a small misplay there, Juice.
Yeah, here comes another round of pigs. He does not have a building. He goes boulder on his weak side tower. He gets the Fisherman down, but once again, not going to be able to activate unless the piggy is full health.
And it's interesting that, I mean, he does keep going there for good reason, I guess, but it'd be really nice to get that King Tower activation, Juice.
Evil RG at the bridge, Barbarian Barrel over the river instead of Lightning, trying to save some elixir potentially for these Archers. RG is getting to the tower. There is another Tesla in hand.
Wow, Pandora is playing this masterfully. Another Royal Delivery comes down, stops that push. 70 seconds remaining here in game number 1.
Pre-prepared for any sort of pigs, blocking this right-hand side. We have a minute left on the clock. Vitor needs another double Royal Giant push.
And right now, Pandora doing the smart thing by going aggressive in the left-hand lane. Now that Bowler and Fisherman are both out of cycle, that means that he has to defend and cannot double down on the push on the right-hand side, which is what you know he wants to do. He wants to get an RG in the mix, and here we go. This forced RG could mean more pigs coming out on the left-hand side.
These Evil Archers going down to that Barbarel is so fantastic, but does he have a bowler for these pigs? He does. Archers on the defense to the right-hand side. Fire Spirit does connect. This is a lot of damage.
Pigs on the tower, and that's it. Vitor knows it. You can see it on his face. Pandora taking another big win.
Wow, I mean, Pandora made a beautiful set of plays there. I liked how he was always waiting for the bowler to come out and then going pigs opposite lane. And if the bowler wasn't cycle, we always split them to prevent that bowler value.
Yeah, you can see here looking at the cycle and the average cost there, really a big thing that made Pandora kind of run away with it. But really what separated them was the moment when those Evo to Archers connected. And I can't wait to take another look at that because there was so much going on. It felt like Vitor was in control. Juicy, talk to me about this push here.
Boulder left-hand lane. Pandora knows that he's low on elixir. He goes Evil Archer to the bridge. He didn't have enough for the Phoenix right away. That one lock is what it really took to win the game.
And the Fire Spirit giving those Evo Archers just a little bit of a push, and then here we go. You talked about it. Evo Archers got taken out by the bar barrel, which was great for Vitor, but maybe just needing a little bit more in the tank to defend here. Pandora playing absolutely brilliantly, and you know, there was one moment where it looked like things might get dicey, but Pandora baits out the lightning with the Archers on the Princess Tower and then is able to get back around to Tesla, and it felt like from that moment on, he was in the driver's seat.
Yeah, I still don't know how he cycled so quickly to that second Tesla. And the placement was perfect as well. A lot of the time, players will be nervous or just in the habit of placing their building directly on top of the Royal Giant. Yeah. But when it's an evil Royal Giant, you cannot do that because then the splash radius that it emits around itself will actually help damage that down, and he could have taken a Royal Giant shot. So really good micro from Pandora.
That's why I love being up here with Juicy J. That's why I love watching your streams, dropping knowledge bombs all day. And the other part of this conversation that it feels like you have to address is, you know, the Royal Giant Evo has really fallen out of favor, especially in terms of how good the recruits, Knight and Archers are. But then when you talk about Vitor's win rate, you can't really fault him for running it in game number one. It's not super predictable.
Yeah, I can't help but wonder maybe the Royal Giant is coming into the meta as there's more bowler entering. Because a lot of the time, players are using bowler beatdown decks or just bowler in replacement of a building, allowing for that Royal Giant to make some massive connections. But enough about that last match. Let's hop into game two.
And game number two coming your way in just a moment as the two of them are setting up their decks. And now Vitor facing a trip down to the lower bracket, but I guess the one thing to hang on to both, or for both of these gentlemen, is that they still have a life to give here in 2023.
Miner going to be tanking for these Goblins. A little bit of a misplace from Vitor there. That's going to deal with the Goblins' little Prince on the Miner.
You know, we've seen that twice today now, Juicy. We were backstage together. You were saying Mugi did it. Now we're seeing Vitor do it. There's no reason to be that far away. You can go one tile closer, not worry about the NATO King Tower activation. So maybe just a little bit of shaky hands, a little bit of nerves.
Mega Knight in the back from Pandora. We might be seeing another Mega Knight Evo Bat Goblin Giant here. And I do not like to see this deck. It's like Mega Knight Goblin Giant, really. Is that how the meta has become?
Well, either way, I'm sure you'll be able to pick up 20 wins with it, Juice, as this MK connects on top of the tower, and things go from bad to worse here for Vitor from game one to game two, and that little Prince barely gets taken care of, and if that had not gone down, that could have already been tower down for Vitor, who was able to survive, but now down over 1,000 HP.
And I think the reason he's really struggling to deal with that Mega Knight is because look at Vitor's deck, he's lacking a tank. He's focusing on using the little Prince ability as his tank, but he did not have that in cycle, and that's why he's really struggling here. But he has a nice mortar connection here, getting a lot of damage.
Yeah, great catch there, great Ice Spirit. Now he's baiting out even more Elixir, so you see he's got a decent Elixir advantage, and this makes it a lot easier to deal with this little Prince because you can just go something cheap like Minions. Instead, he goes Miner, then Minions.
I like the Miner plus Minions. It's going to counter everything, and we have a fairly even match. Rage going to take out these Minions there. Vitor up, slight amount of Elixir. He decides to go Mortar right away. That might be... Okay,
that's
huge.
It's a
lock, but Pandora might be able to defend this and counter push with double Elixir coming in.
And there it is. Pandora goes, no problem. You can get a couple shots in, but can you defend this? And we are about to find out the answer to that question. Maybe a little early on the ability there, but I think maybe he's trying to protect the little Prince from those stab goblins. Ice Spirit able to clean most everything up. 11:58, 6:54. We see Vitor raising his hand.
Raising his hand. I hope everything's all right. The gameplay was perfect from him there. What I really love to point out here is the fact that the double Elixir really ended up being in Vitor's favor.
Yeah.
He wasted all of his Elixir, not wasted, he used it for that mortar connection. But then he was able to defend with double Elixir coming in.
And you see right there, Vitor recognizes he maybe played that just one tile too high. Now the little Prince able to pick things off, and he has got a very heavy push coming in. You're gonna need to hold on that little Prince ability, and his hand is back up again, and now you can see Vitor visibly upset.
Goblin's Minions, maybe he's lagging. He wasn't able to place those cards. I mean, he was in the driver's seat. I don't know what's happening here.
And you can see Vitor very, very upset, and understandably so, with so much on the line here. Gonna have a conversation with League Ops about maybe what went on, and we'll be back to you guys with the results of this conversation in just moments. And it looks like something may have happened a handful of times. And we did hear some issues with phones locking, maybe?
Yeah, so maybe the phone was turning off mid-game, and that's why he wasn't able to play those goblins down in time. Either way, it's a very unfortunate situation. We'll have to wait and hear back to see what is going to happen.
And this conversation, definitely a tough one for Pandora, who wants to celebrate how well that game went. But as you said, Juice, and as Pandora most likely knows that his opponent kind of stopped responding the way that his CRL Pro would in a moment like that with so much on the line. And this is a tough spot for everyone on stage. And you can see they're touching the lock button on the side. Not sure exactly what may have happened. But I'm starting to think more and more that it could have been the phone locking, because Vitor put his hand up and then was able to hop back into the game very quickly. He didn't waste any elixir. And then as the game went on, obviously a bit more frustrating as we're ticking down.
Yeah, it just happened again at the wrong moment, right? That Goblin Giant just coming in. Goblins, minions, not able to defend in time. And yeah, we'll have to, I mean, Leop's still doing their job, trying to figure out exactly what the cause of the problem was. Pandora, like I said, you can't help but feel bad for Vitor here, but also when things like this happen, it's tough for the player who won as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, obviously you want to still take the win home, but these players also very friendly with one another. Maybe not the way that you want to pick up that win, but
absolutely,
such is life. And Pandora and Vitor, like we stated before, still in the upper bracket. Not really the way that you want to have to lose one of your lives. Remember, that is only game one of this best of three, and still just really giving it to that lock button. You show him.
So we are hearing word from the producers. Apparently he was complaining that it was locking, but as League Ops is checking if it was locking or not, it is not. So it should be a red victory here.
Yeah, very difficult there, because replicating something like that in the moment doesn't always work, but there's not really a way to go back and check how many times your iPhone or phone has locked, you know. So again, a very unfortunate situation, but you know, we're gonna have to just play this out and see how things go. And as you said, Juicy, it might be leaning towards a red win. And this conversation continues on, and hey, maybe not the best moment to bring it up, but clashevents.supercell.com is a great way for you guys to get involved in the action, since right now we're not getting a lot on stage. And we see there former pro Rad. What up, Rad? Anthony D'Angelo there on the far left-hand side. Pompeo as well.
Yeah.
I hear he's pretty cool. Look at that smile from Pompeo. Just a likable guy.
All right, so it sounds like it is going to be a red victory here. And can we get a reminder on what the score of the overall match is?
Well, it's just 1-0 now for Pandora. It is absolutely confirmed and in the history books. So game number one, match number one here between these two. All right, it is a match win for Pandora. It's only game. So not the way you want to see it go, but Pandora will take the match win here. Will we not be playing game two again? And while taking the breath out of the room a little bit, still Pandora survives in the upper bracket. Vitor has lost his one life to give, and we'll see more of him later today.
A brutal change, but as you said, it was the upper bracket. Vitor still has a very good chance in the lower bracket, and he can still come back for that championship.
All right, let's go down to the stage here to Rich to see exactly how the winner is feeling.
Congratulations, Pandora, on a hard-fought win. First question here. In the opening game, there was a moment where you took advantage. You went with the evolved archers at the bridge, very aggressive. What did you see in that moment that made you make that play?
まず勝利おめでとうございます。第1ゲームの時に箸にイーボアーチャーを使って、これは本当に利益になりましたね。これはどうしてその瞬間に使ったでしょうか？
なんか気づいたら自分アーチャーを前に出しててなんか刺さるっていう感覚があったんでそれで出してました。
So yeah, I just basically had a hunch, like a feeling, like if I put them there, right now, they're gonna be like a, a lot of value. So I was like, it was just a hunch in a way.
Well, a hunch is certainly good enough in many situations. Now, we don't know exactly who you play in the next round, but it's either Samuel Basoto or Pedro, two very dangerous players. Who do you want to face in the next round of the winner's bracket?
まだ決まってないんですけれども、次の試合はペドロやサムエル・ベソットを対戦するなんですけれども、両方はすごく強い選手なんですが、どっちの方がやりたいでしょうか？
どっちもやりたいです正直。両方とも強いんで、どっちが来ても勝つだけです。
To be fair and honest with you, I do not mind either of them. Both of them are obviously super good players, but I'm gonna win either way.
A winner's mentality here from Pandora. Your winner in this round. Give it up for him.
Now, while a little unfortunate there for Vitor, you have to feel very good for Pandora, who was really just pulling for himself all season long again, saying he was maybe the most underrated player in all of CRL. Juice, you've told us that before, and I'm happy to say it here again. And obviously, Rich referencing who he could be facing off against next in Pedro or Samuel Basoto, two very dominant players, and that is really what the upper bracket is all about, Juicy.
Yeah, both of these players won 2-1 versus veterans. Pedro went 2-1 versus Ruben.
Yeah.
And Samuel going 2-1 versus Morton. And they're here meeting in the upper bracket. I cannot wait to watch them play because they kind of have a fairly similar play style.
Well, and the other thing you have to remember about those matches yesterday between Sam and Morton and Pedro and Ruben is they were absolutely insane. Nail biter after nail biter, and obviously now what is going to be another iconic moment for Morton, which is the two towers falling at the exact same time, then pushing to overtime, something that we have never before seen at World Finals.
Yeah, and Morton won that game.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Sam before the broadcast, and he was like, or I asked him, how did you stay calm in that moment after losing that match? How did you reverse sweep in that situation? And he said, I wasn't calm. I was very nervous, but I played my game. And when he does that, he makes things happen.
Yeah, we've seen it many times before on the stage live and even online, where you can see the players' kind of hands shaking as they're playing the game and here as they're prepping their notes. And Samuel was able to bounce back, which was absolutely incredible. The mental fortitude to the utmost. And same thing with Pedro. You know, you talk about someone who's kind of a rookie coming into this, going up against his teammate, going up against a former world champion, and being able to bounce back in those sets. I mean, it looked like it was all over for him. He was able to steal a game and then honestly steal the set from Ruben.
Yeah, a similar situation. Pedro actually lost to Ruben in his mirror matchup, a minor mortar poison mirror matchup where that is his best deck. So a similar situation where he had to reverse sweep after a very devastating first game.
Sounds like as players are getting ready now with a bit of that pause, let's take another look here at our bracket, since we're getting more and more of the lower bracket flushed out. And as you can see there, we have Mohammed Light awaiting the loser of this next match, as Vitor and Adriel will be playing against one another. Arden Toas and Wallace, and then there at the very bottom where we will start our lower bracket run, Higher versus Ruben. This is going to be a very fun rest of your day, and I saw a lot of action on Twitter talking about how this is one of the most stacked lower brackets you are ever going to see in Clash history.
Yes, you're definitely right, and the biggest one, like you said, is going to be Mohammed Light playing the loser of this match, the loser between Pedro and Sam. We have Pedro, Mohammed Light's declared rival, and Sam, the only person to beat him this year.
All right, a bit of a pause, but now back to the action. Rich, take it away, brother.
Get ready for some fancy footwork as we get ready for the battle of the best Brazilian. It's Pedro and Samuel Basoto.
Samuel Basoto and Pedro have faced off one other time this year, but very, very early on in the year. And the caveat to that conversation, Juicy, is that there was no Evos yet in the mix, which really, really changes things up. Also, though, we were looking at Samuel's win rate, and yeah, please take it away.
Yeah, I mean, we saw how Evos affected certain players' win rate. I think in Muhammad Light's case, his win rate went down like 10%, but Samuel, as soon as Evos got added, he got bolstered, and that has been fascinating to see. He really takes huge advantage over the Evo situation, and as Josh pointed out yesterday, he's so good at keeping track of cycle that he's added keeping track of the Evo cycle as well to know when his opponent has in hand.
Yeah, that's such a good point that you make, because I think for a lot of us that play this game, which is hopefully everyone in this room, is when Evos first came into it, you know, Firecracker being as devastating as it was, you started to recognize, I really need to focus on that more than anything else. And you can see here, May monthly finals winner in Pedro, August monthly finals winner there for Samuel Basoto, who is one of the only people that was able to get his golden ticket by taking down Mohamed Light instead of being gifted it by Mohamed Light. You can see opportunistic there and aggressive as their two characteristic traits, if you will. But it's interesting because Pedro is known as a very, very good cycle player, which is usually not super aggressive, but that's enough out of us. Let's go to the stage. And talking about those play styles, both of them started off their 3-game sets yesterday. Pedro going with Minor, Little Prince, and Mortar, so medium cycle there. Now we see some wall breakers out of him to start, and then Samuel on the other side of it was going R-Hogs EQ with Evoed Archers. So both of them pretty fast in their game number ones, and it looks like Sam's gonna slow things down here a bit, and a perfect King Tower activation there from Basoto.
Beautiful tornado, perfectly placed, and I love just not defending the Miner so that it can continue to tank the tower, allowing for that to happen.
And Pedro hoping that Sam is not running E-Giant, with that Mighty Miner being his response.
That's a great call. It's either Slash Shard, but it definitely could be E-Giant.
Yep.
Pedro, on the other hand, Miner, Poison, Wall Breakers. Pedro's actually the #1 Wall Breakers player in Clash Royale League 2023.
Yeah, that is a very, very cool thing to say, or that title to have. And again, you talk about that cycle play that he has, and it makes a lot of sense there.
So it is going to be Little Prince Splash Shard from Samuel. Going against Minor Poison, not really what you want to see, especially when your opponent has Goblins and Archers to defend those graveyards.
Absolutely. Definitely would have rather had E-Giant here in this situation, being able to NATO all those small squishy cards together. Obviously, Mighty Miner becomes a lot less effective, but we've seen Samuel play through some tough matchups before, and right now Pedro, an perfect 3 untouched towers, as Sam does have King Tower activated, but lowest tower on his board is 2642.
Tombstone, just to reset, Wall Breakers are going to be kited. Tombstone is a passive building, meaning it doesn't attack directly, and that means it actually has a larger hitbox, which will make sure to have a bigger hit radius.
I didn't actually know that's why.
Yeah, those passive buildings just gonna be able to pull a little bit more. Poison gonna drop in Little Prince here. I'm not sure if it will fully kill it though. Goblins gonna keep it in range there. That was a very nice attention to detail.
Yeah, really nice split Goblins there to make sure that Little Prince stayed in that poison. That's the last thing you want, is to spend all that elixir on poison and have the Little Prince still be something you have to deal with on the other side. And Samuel looking like he could be pulling the trigger on his very first graveyard, and there it is. Poison in, Evoed Archers up high, poison opposite lane for Sam.
Yeah, that's the thing about those Evo Archers. They are forcing you to poison them out, or else they'll get too much value. And even before the poison takes it out, they wiped out the Knight, they wiped out the Baby Dragon, the push was done.
And what's really nice about that is, you know, being able to place those Archers in the opposite lane, not giving poison value on the tower that your opponent is really focusing on is again, you talk about changing up the way you play cards, and that makes your opponent change up the way that they want to clean up.
And here's the graveyard on the right-hand side. That's a really nice play. You always want to be going same lane as your opponent, but Samuel's left side tower is lower in damage. I love this tornado though. Baby Dragon blocking Dragon on tower.
That is huge. Pulling that Mighty Miner back and caught Pedro looking 2100 as Sam takes the lead by just a bit.
The best play for Pedro in that situation would be to pop that Mighty Miner ability when predicting the tornado. That would have allowed the Baby Giant to get pushed backwards, but we have a very even match because he didn't do that.
And next GY comes in here. No tank, but Skelly's taking maybe for that little Prince. Archer's cleaning everything up as a couple poisons come down on the board as well. 1904, 1977.
I want to point out that that Graveyard got 0 skeleton hits. Samuel needs to play his Graveyard one more tile to the right to ensure some sort of skeleton connection.
Yeah, the traditional graveyard placement has been changed up a little bit now that poison doesn't fully clean it up if placed like what you're saying right there, Juicy.
Tornado going to get a little bit of chip, but a nice Goblins plus log is going to really prevent a lot of these skeleton hits.
1846, 1830, neck and neck as we take into triple elixir, which is technically where Sam should be able to run away with this, but we all know what Mighty Miner does to a Miner poison with a 3-card cycle in triple elixir. Very difficult to keep up with as Sam gets very aggressive.
Sam also has a 3-card cycle with the Little Prince. He goes to the Graveyard, he gets a poison down for damage. He pops the ability to keep his Little Prince alive. He needs another Graveyard ASAP.
Little Prince gets taken down 1460 now to 1459, separated by just 1 HP. 30 seconds remaining. See how Sam wants to clean up these wall breakers. Nice high Baby Dragon to clean them up. Does not. Ooh. Wow, almost got away.
Here comes the Graveyard, poison as well. Evil Archers plus Goblins, a NATO. Is this gonna be enough damage? I don't think so. I think Pedro is going to be taking this match.
And does it get the catch? Samuel Basoto, but Graveyard comes in. Is there enough time? A lot of damage done here by Pedro, and it looks like he could be taking game number 1.
Wallbreaker connects. Pedro taking game 1 in style.
And what a game number 1. 595 remains on Pedro's tower, and a pretty fortunate matchup there for Pedro.
Absolutely. Like we talked about, those archers, those goblins, so good versus the Graveyard. If you get in a pinch, you can always poison as well. We have a replay coming up soon, and we're going to be talking about how this Graveyard defense really shaped up for Pedro. First of all, minor wallbreakers coming in. Baby Dragon plus Barbarilla was enough to defend. Graveyard came in once again. I don't think it's placed perfectly, but those Evil Archers, not only do you have the quick attack speed, but they are very not tornadoable in a way.
Yeah, because if anything, you're going to give them even more damage because they have such a long range, and obviously the range increasing there. And you can see Sam trying to get really, really aggressive to close things out. Wallbreaker does connect, and Pedro knows it is all sewn up. A very riveting game number 1 between these two.
Okay, so both players use poison, so minor poison not going to be a thing. We have E-Giant and Goblin Giant on the board for both of them. Potentially could be seeing some of that in this match number 2.
I mean, do you play E-Giant without NATO, though? Is that something that you should do, right? You skip on it. Maybe Sam goes heavier there. Yesterday, Sam did play in his second game. He did play E-Giant Bowler, but like we're talking about, without that NATO, maybe he switches to what has been dominating everywhere else, which is Goblin Giant.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I think that's why we don't usually see as much Splash Shard in these tournaments, because it is duels formatting. You can now repeat cards, and when you use Splash Shard, not only do you use Tornado, which is in lots of decks, including E-Giant and maybe Bloom Freeze, but you also use the Poison, which minor poison is a staple of Clash Royale.
Yeah, Tombstone maybe not as crucial because a lot of people are being able to play E-Giant with Cannon, but you know, Tombstone was another, actually I think the higher win rate of the 2 decks. So E-Giant most likely not going to happen here from Samuel. We'll see if he does lean into what has just been dominating in the meta, and we're going to find out right now as we go to game number 2. Samuel Basoto back up against the wall. And a quick pause here as we are hopping into game.
I'm gonna call it right now. Samuel Basoto using Mega Knight Goblin Giant right here.
And Evo Archer's out first as Pedro is holding, and a Mother Witch. Mother Witch causing a lot of problems yesterday.
Earthquake.
Sam goes EQ, so most likely going to play some Hog.
Yeah, Earthquake. I wonder if Samuel has the Log. Log will kill this Mother Witch, but I think he might have used it already, which means a Snowball. No, he has it. Perfect.
Sam, an exceptional Hog EQ player. Maybe considered the best in the world before a certain someone decided to take that title from him.
Yeah, Muhammad Light.
There he is. That's who it is.
It is a pleasure to watch him play Hog EQ, but Samuel, like we talked about, his win rate really bolstered by the addition of evolutions. So, and he's got the pigs as well.
Piggies, okay, so he's gonna go Piggies instead. And an MK comes out. Excuse me, Mini P.E.K.K.A.
Mother Witch gonna be turning the pigs into pigs. That's kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie.
Freaking me out up here, man.
Log coming down, countering the pig, damaging the Mother Witch. I mean, this is fascinating to see. We see that a lot in Clash Royale League, though. Both of these players being patient, waiting for a mistake. Not even a mistake, maybe just even an inaccuracy before they can capitalize on that.
Sparky coming down in the back, and Sam doesn't really have a great opportunity to... there you go. Piggies come out, going very aggressive here, which is exactly what you want to do with that Sparky. Ice Spirit here going to try to freeze up that tower, maybe make something happen with that Evo'd Archer, but a nice high Knight, which means you can't really support the Sparky, which is nice for Sam.
Sam gonna just delivering, play it safe. Log in the Knight. Knight will get one shot, letting his opponent get a little bit of damage to conserve some elixir, and then capitalizing, going for the Goblins left, forcing the Mother Witch, pigs on the right.
And that Mini P.E.K.K.A. will do a decent job cleaning up, but still some good damage will come in here for Samwell.
Got 4 more pigs on the left from the Mother Witch. Archers, not perfectly split, and we have a Goblin Giant at the bridge. This is tough for Sam to defend, but he's got the bomb tower, and he's one of the best micro players in the game.
And that is giving a good amount of fireball value, though, as this Goblin Giant should get, maybe no. Archers coming in to clean everything up, and that'll do a good job against those minions as well. 2202 to 1780. Samuel Basoto in the lead currently. We'll see how he wants to maybe split these piggies, maybe just go all to the left now. There we go.
Great call. Mini P.E.K.K.A. going to defend, Rage as well, but the Mini P.E.K.K.A. attacks the one piggy that didn't get hit by the Rage, a small mistake allowing for a little bit more chip.
And the Sparky a lot healthier this time around. Going to be another delivery on top as those goblins go out to pick up the Mini P.E.K.K.A. Very happy to have that delivery is Samuel Basoto.
Yeah, the delivery makes such a big difference. A lot of the time, pigs do quite well versus Sparky, while Hog EQ doesn't just because of that one difference in the deck.
And a nice sell-out push here on the right-hand side. Gets some good damage out of it, but now Sam has an Evo Knight to contest with and a Gob Giant Sparky push on the right-hand side.
And that Evo Knight tanking the left side towers, allowing this Goblin Giant to stay quite healthy. Not to mention this Mother Witch making things quite annoying. He's opting to take some Mother Witch chip to make sure that no pigs are spawning in.
And Sparky gonna get nice and frozen up there, but an aggressive push on the left-hand side. No deliveries, so Sam has to pull those minions to the middle, but they're raged up. They're making light work of those goblins and this tower, but a nice defense from Sam, though, still taking quite a bit there on the back end.
Here comes the pigs, but the Sparky predicting the pigs, locks onto the middle one as well. Those pigs are gone. He did get some chip, but this is going to be a massive counter push from Pedro.
Yeah, you see that they're even in elixir, but obviously a Sparky is on the board, so Sam going to have to opt to get a bomb tower down early. There it is. That way he can maybe get back around to it. And he's got to get some archers out as soon as he can, but not giving value to that fireball and hoping to pick up those minions was Sam.
Love the Evo Archer's value here. We need to see pigs on the left-hand side. He goes to the right into the Sparky, though.
Yeah, right into the Sparky. Those pigs are not going to do anything. Wow. He does get the Ice Spirit connection, I guess, if you're looking for some, you know, a silver lining, but not the best.
Pig coming in, and we have another Evo Knight tanking for another massive push. Sam only has 30 seconds as well to break through, and this Sparky's clogging the lane.
And the second bomb tower comes down. Archers cleaned up on that right-hand side. A sellout push on the left here for Pedro. And Sam trying to hang on for dear life.
This defense is fantastic. Gob Giant comes in, but he's back to another bomb tower. Sparky does not get the shot. Evo Archers in cycle, and that is game, I think.
Samuel able to bounce back once again after a rough game one. He's done it 2 days in a row, and we are going to game number 3.
That is exactly what I want to see between these two players as well. Like I said, Muhammad Light rival that he said was his rival, and then the real rival, in my opinion, Samuel Bosoto, the one who was the only one to beat him this year.
Yeah, and that was a very, very fun back and forth there in game number 2. The defense was impeccable from Samuel time and time again, always having that delivery for the Sparky, always having Archer's back and cycle, and even when he gave just a little bit too much fireball value early on, he was able to recover very, very well. A clean game 2 for Sam.
I have to mention as well that Sparky being played so well by Pedro, always blocking this lane as we've seen here, but Samuel's defense, despite that, was so perfect. Delivery drops and everything. Another bomb tower down. Archers, a distraction. Delivery on the left. Goblins do get taken out, and I was scared about this Sparky, but he just barely is able to distract you with that Archer, and it doesn't get the shot.
The double delivery, the double or triple bomb tower, 2 sets of Archers cycling like a madman, and then honestly, if his defenses weren't so perfect, he'd be in so much trouble because he kept sending those Royal Hogs right into the Sparky over and over and over.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's a terrible elixir trade for him, but he's still able to defend because he's so good in the delivery, really getting lots of value versus that entire deck.
Yeah, I've said for years now, delivery, one of my favorite cards, one of the highest skill cap cards in the game go. You know, you don't really see it used a lot in lower ladder or, you know, before you get to UC, just because people they don't really understand how dominant it can really be. And then you see right there how Samuel puts it into practice perfectly.
Yeah, it really is a mini Mega Knight that hits air and has a shield. So used in the proper situations, you're really able to lean on it as a crutch for good defense. And that's why it's so good in that Pigs deck, because a lot of time you can get a great defense down with the roll delivery, even though you don't have a tank in the deck. As long as you have a quick enough reaction time, it acts as that as well. And then you're always able to send those Pigs in. Even though they're expensive, they're able to do so much damage.
So 2 nail biters here through game 1 and game 2. And again, through their match ones yesterday, both of these guys able to bounce back, even though the pressure is through the roof. So I cannot wait to see who comes out on top here in game number 3. Both of them trying to figure out exactly what they want to run. And it seems like they are ready now that you guys are back to us. Let's go back to them. Bowling.
Crowd is getting a little hectic out here.
That's what we love to see, Juice. We love it.
Yeah, Boulder, I don't think either of them have used them. So maybe we will see some Boulder action. Maybe some Boulder Goblin Giant from one player, maybe some Boulder E-Giant from another. You never know, but it's going to be Evo Skellies from Pedro and Evo Skellies from Sam, so maybe that is not correct at all.
Snowball comes in here for Sam. Maybe it could be Hog Rider, and there we go, Hog Rider from Pedro.
Monk on the defense. Does decent, but the Snowball slows everything down.
Is that another hit? Does it get the last? No, it does not, but still up by 1,000 already. Is Pedro. We'll see how Sam wants to respond.
Pedro's turn to use the delivery, and Samuel using a miner here. Will the monk ability pop? Yes, it does. That's going to do a great job of tanking for this miner for maximum chip.
Yeah, that's actually a great little bit of damage there. 2672 to 2044. Musketeer comes down in the back. We saw Ruben do great work with Musketeer yesterday, who has really fallen out of favor here in the meta, considering how good Little Prince and Archers are. But I'm still happy to see Muskie showing up at World Finals.
The big thing I want to note here is Samuel used Poison in game 1 with Spot Shard. So this is going to be most likely a Monk Balloon deck from Sam. And looking at the matchup, it could be pretty solid. Pedro does have the Snowball, but the Little Prince may be his only air attacking unit. And we all know that only one champion can be on the board at a time.
Pedro has played a lot of Hog Rider throughout this year in 2023. He's played it 38 different times with a 71% win rate. So a deadly man with that Hog Rider.
Evo Skellies at the bridge. They do get taken out by the arrows. Monk counter pushing with this Musketeer. Delivery drops and everything, plus a Snowball to really prevent any balloon from happening, though.
Sam goes up front here. And a nice high Tesla to make sure that Hog does no damage, and then can maybe help clean up this counter push coming from Pedro. 1 minute remains here in regulation as one of these gentlemen will be sent down to the lower bracket. The other one will continue on up top and face Pandora tomorrow.
I really love these Tesla placements from Samuel. He's playing it one tile away from the river, allowing for an anti-earthquake placement, meaning you can't hit the Tesla and the tower with the same earthquake.
Balloon down here for Sam. Sam not running a ton of balloon throughout the season, but does have a 63% win rate with said balloon, as another Hog Rider is coming in here for Pedro. Maybe a little too aggressive, Juicy.
It's aggressive, but it's also defense in the same way, allowing the Bloom to go in front of the Monk. Now this Monk is not getting much value.
And that is a great call there as those Evo and Skellies pile up. Another Hog Rider here comes in for Pedro, but Sam ready to go with that Tesla, 2074 to 1718. Now that all cards are shown, we'll see how these two want to adapt moving forward, pushing that Musketeer forward, hoping to get Guardian or Little Prince on top, but Samuel says, I need to protect that Muskie. As he gets a second one down, no shots in and a lot on the board.
Two Musketeers are going to get taken out by one delivery.
Yeah.
Minor coming in for a chip, but he's got the Ice Free Skeletons. I love his use of that cycle. Saving those cycle cards to defend that Minor is perfect.
Well, the amount that Pedro can do at the bridge with that delivery, we just saw right there. Like you said, cleaning up two Musketeers with one delivery. Then he's allowed to clean up that Minor with Skellies plus Ice Spirit. So positive trades all the way around here for Pedro as Sam is struggling to hang on. And we got an Evo Skelly battle at the bridge. You love to see it. Wow, one almost snuck away and it baited out the snowball.
It does bait the snowball, but look at the Hog Rider. It's being tanked for by the Evo Skellies, but it doesn't get the hit.
1284, 2025, Pedro in the driver's seat. 80 seconds remain here. Battle of Brazil.
Samuel just needs one really good balloon push with the Monk in front, but Pedro's done such a great job this entire match of stalling the Monk at the bridge to not allow it to tank.
Getting some chip damage in here is Pedro. A nice catch there with that Ice Spirit for the Musketeer and pushing it opposite lane. That was so clean.
But he takes the opportunity to attack the opposite lane. There's two Teslas on the board, though. Sam doing a great job of always keeping one up. Evo Skeletons coming down here. We see an Earthquake cycle. 45 seconds left on the clock. Monk at the bridge. He needs a massive connection.
Yeah.
But look at Pedro's use of the 3-card cycle to always make sure to have multiple Teslas down. It doesn't seem like it's possible.
No, I mean, Sam really having a very, very difficult time, whether he's changing lane, he's got two balloons down, but that's a great delivery. You know, Tesla can come down as well, so great delivery value there, and nothing to tank for. Oh, the balloon is getting tanked by that Minor.
But look at the Guardian. Guardians have to be stopped by the Musketeer, and there goes the Hog Rider. He has enough for the Tesla now. Anti-EQ placement, but he's applying pressure, not allowing Sam to go on.
And the Hawk connects, and Sam knows it's over. Pedro takes down a world champion, and then world number 3 on back-to-back days. And Samuel goes down below to face off against who? Mohammed Light.
I cannot wait to see the world champ play against his rival. I mean, Mo always says it. Pedro has a very similar play style as him, and after watching this game, after watching that Hog Earthquake, I have to agree with him.
Some really clean stuff, and I gotta say, that predictive Ice Spirit over the middle to catch the Muskie and then the snowball to push it opposite lane was absolutely beautiful, because on top of that, you saw Sam double down on the right-hand side to no avail. Rich, how's the rookie doing?
I have to imagine that he's doing very well right now. Pedro, first question. You just went cycle for cycle with one of the greatest cycle players of all time. Tell me about that performance.
Pedro, primeira pergunta. Você acabou de ir ciclo por ciclo com o melhor jogador de ciclo de todos os tempos. Como é que você se sente?
Poder ganhar de um jogador tão bom quanto o Samuel e ser considerado um dos melhores jogadores de ciclo jogando no Mundial, eu não tenho como expressar essa emoção que eu sinto.
Jogando playing cycle with the player that is considered the best in the world in the World Championship and winning, I have no words to express how that feels.
Well, talk about some big feelings. You are right now just 3 match wins away from being the Clash Royale League World Champion. What are you thinking right now as you prepare for those next few matches?
Você tá 3 partidas antes de se tornar o campeão mundial. O que você está sentindo? O que você está pensando para essas próximas partidas? Como é que você está se sentindo?
Estou muito ansioso para jogar elas e estou impressionado com o meu resultado por ser a minha primeira vez aqui.
I'm very anxious to play those games, and I'm very impressed with my result for playing here.
Well, we are, of course, all impressed. Let's hear it one more time for your winner, Pedro!
What a golden run for Pedro, and no easy out either. I mean, you talk about going, I'm gonna take it again, Rich, out of the frying pan into the fire, and you're going with a world champion and then a world-class competitor, but staying in our upper bracket is Pedro, and man, I mean, what an exceptional weekend for him.
Yeah, and I have to point out, this is his first time on a huge stage like this, the World Finals stage. And he's kept his nerves under wraps perfectly, and that means a lot when it comes to Clash Royale.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're talking about the greats of the game and people like Mugi, you know, for instance, who we saw him visibly shaking up there, but still able to keep everything together. Pedro doing the exact same thing. So, unfortunately for us, but fortunately for Air Surfer and Mugi, Pandora and Pedro, they'll be taking the rest of the day off. They'll be sitting back and watching these lower bracket matches. They'll be going tomorrow to see who's going to be in those upper bracket finals, which means a lot more cash in the bank. And then Juicy, our round 2 in the elimination bracket is set, and it is stacked.
Wow, first place from last year against the third place from last year. Cannot wait to watch this match. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we are saying goodbye to 6 players today. We're going through round 2 lower bracket and round 3 lower bracket.
Wow.
There's gonna be some hectic matches of Clash Royale.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about stress, knowing that we're gonna say goodbye to that many players. 6 more people cutting our competition in half, but that's what you have to do to get on to day number 3. And we're gonna start right at the very bottom of that with Ruben and Hire, which you heard at the top of the show. Hire, a runner-up to World Finals in 2019. WEDGM getting 2nd place there. And then you talk about 2020, Ruben with Queso being, I mean, a lot of people say he carried Queso on his back, not to take away from the other people on that team, but what Ruben did in 2020 was exceptional. Let's take a look here at the decks that we got, Juicy. We love to talk about decks here at CRL.
Let me break it down for you. Game 1, we saw Splash Shard versus Minor Poison. This Minor Poison matchup is very, very solid for Pedro, and he took that dub. Looking at Game 2, you know, it was a lot different. It was Pedro with a Goblin Giant, Sparky versus Sim, having a nice matchup with that roll delivery.
Yeah. Game
number 3, why don't you walk me through it?
Yeah, I mean, you look here at the balloon. The balloon was supposed to be the key to this. I'm not sure if the Monk is him or not, but the Monk was trying to tank for Samuel Basoto, but it was really about Pedro doing such a great job using that little Prince, using that 3-card cycle, building SimCity when he needed to, and getting incredibly aggressive when he needed to. But we're out of the upper bracket. We're gonna start chopping heads here. What do we got next?
Introducing the man who had a great day 1, but he's gonna have to reset after a loss earlier today against the guy who's fresh off of a 2-0 sweep against Morton. We have Hire and Ruben!
And the perfect match to be joined up in the booth by Rich Slayton. Rich, a bit of a historian, of course, in Clash Royale, and a lot of history here between these two guys. Again, a former world champion and a former world champion runner-up.
Yeah, and that's a very important thing for both of these players' stories, because Ruben's already proved everything he needs to prove, in my eyes, and I think in many people's eyes. But there are, of course, people who go, well, he did it with teams, can he do it solo? And I think he most certainly can. Hire, other side, has not yet had that world championship, but anybody who's followed this game for a long time knows that he has been world-class for years, and now we just see, can he do it for the first time playing solo in front of a crowd?
Yeah, and you know, you look at the numbers here, Rich, and honestly, a lot closer than I would have anticipated. 45% for Hire, 55% for Ruben, and I actually think that's kind of correct. You got to give the nod to Ruben for exactly what you just talked about, being a former world champion, but I love that the respect has been put on Hire's name here. This is not a 70-30, a 75-25, which honestly I maybe would have anticipated, since Hire has been kind of out of the scene for us for maybe the last couple of years-ish.
Sure, and that's definitely one of those questions I'll have to answer right now as we jump in to the opening game of our match between Ruben and Hire. one of the interesting elements of this matchup is nobody knows who's deck picking with Hire, or if he's working all on his own, which would maybe create a problem, but Ruben, of course, has been known to kind of go a certain direction, Andrew, although yesterday against Morton, he went Miter Mortar, and then he went E-Giant Bowler, two things that are not usually in Ruben's repertoire.
Yeah, you know, and we saw some interesting stuff from Ruben throughout the day. I mean, we saw Hog with Royal Recruits, which is not something you normally see, so maybe a bit of trickeration there, as we see Hire protecting his little prince. And a lot of cards that you would expect to see here. We got Bowler, we got Bar Barrel, and of course we have Little Prince with Evo'd Archers.
Ruben's been running Bowler, E-Giant, of course, yesterday, but also a ton between yesterday's competition and today in his normal ladder and practice play, so no big surprises for me here, which raises the question, is this also not a surprise for Hire as he goes E-Giant at the bridge?
Yeah, hyper aggressive here, and the thing with Ruben running E-Giant, he's only got a 50% win rate with E-Giant here in CRL, and that's a very nice NATO for him to clean everything up. Another bowler comes down to take on the other bowler, but good damage in here early for Hire.
First blood drawn, and as you look at these two decks,
and the Magic Archer lineup. Oh wait, excuse me, that is a bowler lining up for two very nice shots.
They should do a matchup where the bowler cosplays as a Magic Archer and vice versa.
I'm here for it.
You hear that? Drew, Seth, Max, Oiku, anybody?
23-19, 24-18, separated by just over 100. Under. And Ruben playing nothing but defense so far as he sets up that E-Giant in the back. Kind of traditional when you look back at his 2020 run. He was very, very patient in single. You didn't see him go too crazy. We've seen a little bit of on and off with patience in terms of Ruben's gameplay. And honestly, here at World Finalists, he's cleaned that up quite a bit.
Well, one of the things that's made Ruben a special player for a long time is a good sense of when to go full gas and when to throw on the brakes. And I think that that's been lost a little bit over the last couple of years. And wow, yes, wow indeed. And we're seeing that, I think, on display in the last couple of matches is a really good idea, a really good concept of pacing. We'll see if that pays off here, though, as he has a nasty E-Giant push to deal with.
Yeah, it feels like Hire maybe took the better of that back and forth, and now Bowler has to come down late. Ruben trying not to give too much lightning value, but still going to take just a little bit more damage. Ruben may be spending just a little bit more than he should have over the river there, trying to take care of the Little Prince of Hire.
And now E-Giant, Bowler, Baby Dragon. Baby Dragon will go over towards the Tombstone, which is not pulling the E-Giant.
Yeah, and so that is huge. Wow. And now the Bowler maybe gets some lineup. It does. No, Bar Barrel behind, but still Bowler on the board. And so much is being spent by Hire to not do anything other than survive.
Sudden death overtime, and that death looking closer and closer for Hire as what was a relatively comfortable lead suddenly melts away, and you see the tilt of the head there from the WEDGM former captain.
Yeah, he knows he's in a bad spot here, knowing that Ruben should just go right back on offense. That's exactly what he does, and with time ticking down, you know that Hire is starting to feel the pressure. 1746 to 1278. That's a nice NATO.
Yeah, and you gotta imagine Ruben loves being able to keep his opponent's troops all on that side as Bowler just controls the bridge here. That E-Giant gets nowhere, and Lightning finally comes out at a very opportune moment for Ruben. Hire sets up Bowler, 70 seconds left.
Almost feels like the nail in the coffin, that Lightning, but still Hire has 1 minute to respond, and we all know how quickly E-Giant can stack up damage, but how on earth? And you see there, Ruben doing a great job, Rich, not playing the Tombstone. I love varying that defense.
This is what we talked about yesterday, is people were having trouble with the buildings being sniped by the Evo Archers and trying to make plays that predict that, either with changing up your sequencing, changing your building placement, or even trying to pick up the aggro from those Evo Archers. We just saw Ruben do that very well.
Yeah, gets that Lightning in on top, and it's a, that's a credit to Hire, Rich, because we were talking yesterday about how well Hire and even Not Afraid were showing the track of cycle, and Hire was ready to go with that Tombstone, trying to pick off that Tombstone, but Ruben just 1 step ahead of him with 20 seconds remaining.
And that's a nice E-Giant, just knowing there's not much you can do at that stage. Defend, but with 15 seconds left, this is going to leave pretty much no opportunity. And I don't don't even know if they'll get one because Lightning will be very close by. Higher already calling good game here, and Ruben putting Higher back to the wall next game, facing elimination.
Two world-class competitors, nothing but respect for one another, but it did feel like things went awry for Higher early on once Ruben was able to start pacing the game, and it was really about the lightning value that Ruben kept getting over and over and over. Now, he did overextend just a couple times, but when you talk about who won the lightning game, Ruben by a mile.
Let's go ahead and take a look at some of that action here. This is a really key moment. You're going to take a look at the NATO play with the E-Giant here in just 1 second on that right-hand side as Higher is looking to control here. You see the archers down low, and that NATO actually pushes the E-Giant even closer for some extra damage on the tower. And you see right from there, the damage just floods in.
Yeah, that's a really tough spot for Higher because you know he misses the pull with the E-Giant. He's trying to get it towards the tombstone, but it ends up kind of biting him in the butt by getting those archers even a little bit closer. So that's maybe where the wheels started to fall off for Higher, and then we know Ruben. As soon as he's got blood in the water, he is a shark.
He is, absolutely, and that's what we talked about, is he's very good at understanding when to go and when to slow, and that's one of those things that brought him from his start as a young, talented player for Casito in Spain, and then all the way to a World Championship in 2020, and that's the thing that we've seen on display here in these back and forth slobber knockers that he's had so far already here at World Finals.
All right, anyway, the thing about that, too, is when we were doing CRL throughout the year, there were moments, up and down moments for Ruben just getting a little too aggressive, and as of right now, he's got the patience that you need to be a champion.
Well, here's the question is, Ruben typically in this moment would go Balloon or Hog with NATO out.
Right.
That seems too up and down the line. We saw him go Mortar Miner yesterday. Do you run it back because you don't want to be predictable for who Ruben is conceptually, or do you go to one of those because you think maybe Higher and his friends have an eye on that Mortar Miner deck?
Well, you know, I mean, I don't know if they're listening to us, but I'm sure they're analyzing him in the sense of we kind of beat that horse to death just talking about how predictable Ruben was, but we saw the same thing yesterday, and sometimes being predictable is unpredictable. I know that might be a little bit of you know, mental gymnastics, but sometimes it makes it harder to analyze. Let's find out here in our next game.
And both players waiting to get into the action. Little Ice Spirit to open here. Ruben has been running alongside that E-Giant deck a ton of Hog in his practice. Another reason why I don't like the idea of a Hog Rider play here, as Higher probably has a read on that. Although, as you said, maybe being predictable is unpredictable. Hey, we saw you run Hog 30 times over the course of the last 24 hours, and here he goes. So he's going for predictable as unpredictable. Let's see if that pays off.
Yeah, so far,
look at the head shake of Ruben. He is not happy.
Yeah, I mean, he's got Snowball to deal with. He's got the Bomb Tower to deal with, a fast cycle to deal with. And maybe being predictable was not the way to go here, but obviously still just the opening moments of this game number 2.
Sometimes you look at some of these deck choices and you wonder if everyone knows that the internet exists, Andrew.
Yeah, you know, and just to kind of add to that point for you guys that maybe you're sick of us talking about this, well, listen to this. Ruben ran Hog 40 times in CRL. The next closest deck was Wall Breakers, and that was 13 times less.
That's such a wild difference, and here we go. Evo Knight to pick up the Phoenix and the Knight. Egg might pop, and just barely doesn't, courtesy of that last sword swipe.
And a nice, cheap, but effective push coming in here, and Evo Knight meets Evo Knight, but stuck in, so those goblins will do light work of it. That's nice for Ruben.
So first minute and a half gone, 25-72, the lowest tower for Higher. So far, Ruben with a little bit of chip he's taken at 28-30, but no significant damage as he adds to that lead with one more Hog shot.
Yeah, not the best, I mean, not the defense that Higher really wanted to play, but he had to deal with what he was given. Doing a good job there was Ruben pressing the issue with that Firecracker up high. Phoenix down low, not gonna be able to deal with that. Now the Loon comes out here for Higher.
I believe this is why Ruben felt some stress as well, is noticing that he has Tesla, Firecracker, Ice Spirit, and that's it to control these loons.
And that's a great call by Hire. I mean, obviously we have just a little bit less game tape on Hire, but he did not run Balloon at all this season.
2092, so far so good for Ruben. The question's gonna be when we get deeper into double and along to triple, what does this look like for him?
And Miner does not go to the Firecracker, baiting out those goblins, gets arrows on top of everything, and the Balloon only gets some death damage.
And the Phoenix gets pulled as well as the Goblin stays just a little bit alive. So again, you see a little shake of the head from Hire, and these players noticing every single tiny thing that goes right or goes wrong and how critical that can be.
I mean, Ruben is playing this very, very well, and just like we were saying moments ago, it feels like the Ruben of old, just on top of the cycle, knows exactly how to pick apart everything that Hire can send his way. And, you know, even though he only has the Tesla, Ice Spirit, and Firecracker, it doesn't even feel like he's wanting for any sort of air defense.
Well, the big question is going to be once we get in deep and we start seeing some fancy plays with the Phoenix, Loon, and Miner, does it hold up there? But Ruben's got the best thing going for him right now, which is a big lead and almost a very big mistake from Hire.
Yeah, a lot spent there for Hire to almost take a hog hit, but he gets away with one.
The pressure from Ruben's great here. It's not letting Hire get the elixir to go in with Loon Plus, because he can't really go simple. He has to go a little bit more complex. And look at this, hog in, Snowball has to come down.
And the Firecracker, Rich, that should do it. And now he's in spell cycle range. Ruben stays alive.
Hire not giving up yet, but it is a tall mountain to climb. They have not seen the good game, which shows maybe he feels some semblance of hope. He has to go late bomb tower here, and there he goes. This is his only push.
And that is a clean defense. Ruben knows it's over, and our former world champion stays alive as we say goodbye to Hire.
What a performance from Ruben. Brilliant in the deck picks, but also brilliant in the gameplay as well. And that felt like a macro win more than anything. Ruben recognizing pressure is how he would win that game and just kept on pounding down the lane over and over again.
And I love that the pushes just kept getting more and more on top. All right, it's a hog. Now it's a hog Firecracker. Now it's a hog Firecracker with an Ice Spirit. You know, he just kept doing it over and over and over. And the thing about that is with the way Hire could defend, you saw how menacing that Firecracker was. And like you said, that pressure makes it so your opponent cannot get on offense.
Well, let's go ahead down to the floor where we have your winner standing by.
So, game number 1, mirror match. Why did you choose Baby Dragon instead of the Little Prince?
Entonces, como en primero estuvo un mirror situación, ¿por qué has usado el dragón bebé en vez de Principito?
Sí, bueno, yo pienso que el gigante eléctrico con bebé dragón también es muy bueno y prefiero guardar el Little Prince para otro mazo.
Since I had to beat Electric Giant, I had to use this card.
4 wins in a row now. What did you fix after losing your first round of the World Finals?
Has tenido 4 victorias consecutivas. Can you repeat the question?
What did you fix after losing in the first round?
¿Qué has hecho para mejorar las últimas 2 rondas?
Vale. Cuando yo perdí ya me quité todos los nervios y vengo ya más enfocado en jugar como yo sé.
Después de losing, I stopped being that nervous and I could actually concentrate on the game.
And then, do you think you made any mistakes in game number 2?
¿Y piensas que has hecho algún tipo de error en el juego segundo?
Yo pienso que no, la jugué muy bien. Igual tirar un Tesla de más, pero necesitaba meter presión, así que yo creo que la jugué muy bien.
Yes, I think I did very well without mistakes. My opponent used Tesla, but I think it went well.
Yeah, there you go. I didn't see any mistakes either. And there's a real chance he might never make a mistake again. Let's give it up for Ruben!
You heard it here first. Ruben will never accidentally lock his keys inside of his car or call someone the wrong name. So congratulations, Ruben, on no mistakes ever again.
Yeah, you already got a better life than I do, just doing those two things. I locked my keys in the car yesterday.
Well, you know, speaking of locking the keys in the car, it did feel like Ruben kind of locked things down here. First matchup, phenomenal, and then second game, as we saw, pretty much mistake-free game.
Well, that's what you get for being a veteran, being a former world champion. You're able to kind of calm those nerves and get right back in the action. And let's take a look here at the decks that we have from these competitors. And like we said, I mean, a little bit maybe predictable in that second game, but you look here and this...
Yep. And you know, we talk about that hog EQ play from Ruben overall. That was, of course, game 2 for Ruben, where he went to the hog earthquake. But game 1, of course, was where he got that first big advantage in matchup. And they played the mirror match, I believe, was in game number 1, and then game number 2, just some smart gameplay. And here you go, was the E-Giant almost mirror with Baby Dragon one direction and the Little Prince in the other. And very curious to see the Little Prince not getting put in the mix here by Ruben.
Just gonna say that is actually really shocking that it doesn't use Little Prince. And also when you look back at this game, the fact that Hire wasn't able to abuse that 3-card cycle throughout the entire game. Ruben was just keeping pedal to the metal, playing very, very smart and slow throughout single elixir. And then he kept turning up the heat over and over. Juice, that was an incredible best of 3. Any thoughts from your seat?
I mean, I have to point out that Baby Dragon pick, like you guys were saying, it doesn't die to lightning, and that's why I was able to get so much value. But the illustration that we're going to be going to here in a little bit is going to be that hog earthquake versus the balloon deck here. And I want to make a huge point to pay attention to this Tesla. That Tesla right there is why he won this game. Let's watch it through. Tesla, first of all, taking out that knight, allowing for him to win the Evil Knight mirror matchup. Hogrider doesn't get a hit this time, but he got a lot of value. Now, it kills the entire Phoenix with the help of the Firecracker. It takes more damage, but he goes Knight Ice Spirit, Hog Rider again. Higher, misplaces the bomb tower. Tesla's still alive.
Yeah.
It takes that out as well. Hog Rider's full health, walking towards the tower, and it just barely gets the hit. And that's what really put the nail in the coffin.
And that's what we're talking about with the Ruben of old and doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on those pushes because he gets so aggressive and kind of slowly evolves his pushes. You see his opponent not really know how to keep up defensively.
And now, Juicy, since we have you here, you are, of course, one of the top E-Giant players out there. Thoughts on the E-Giant mirror? Of course, you mentioned the Baby Dragon for the Lightning, but other thoughts on the E-Giant gameplay we saw there?
The biggest thing was that tornado that Ruben used to pull his opponent's bowler into his Electro Giant. It was almost as if he was tornadoing his own Electro Giant into his opponent's tower.
Some high-level, high IQ plays, and of course, we've got plenty more of those coming. Josh, what do we have next?
2 players that are certainly happy to have made it to day 2, but I've got a good feeling they don't want to be knocked out in this next round. We have Arden and Wallace.
As any Clash Royale player knows, momentum is such a huge part of this game, whether you're feeling the groove and getting wins, or whether you're tilting so badly you consider uninstalling the game, at least for a couple of days.
I've never been there.
Yeah, no, never, none of us have. And you take a look at the situation here, Wallace on the upswing, coming off of a gutsy win.
Yep.
Arden Toa seemed to have shaken off the demons that had plagued him so long in live gameplay, but then he looked nervous and out of sorts again in our last game. Is momentum the story, going to be the story here in this elimination matchup?
You know, that's a really great question, but the thing that Arden really needs to hold on to is the fact that he would have beaten Mugi in that mirror match had he just not misclicked that one Tesla. He was able to really keep up and take control of the pace because of the Mighty Miner. That 3-card cycle, he was abusing him towards the end of that game. If he had just not misclicked the Tesla, which we've all done 100 times, is not placing your building in the right spot, he could be still in that upper bracket. But like you said, this is a game of momentum. Wallace coming off of wins. Arden needs to recognize he lost to a former world champion off of one little misclick. You gotta reset, brother.
Well, let's go ahead and jump into this one. Wallace, Arden Toa starts now. And this crowd has been in it the whole time. They certainly are a lot of fun, and that's why we love everyone being here at CRO World Finals.
Yeah, both these guys having a lot of nerves. It's always great to have that loud crowd pop when you're not sure how you're gonna do, when it's all putting it on the line. And right now, both these guys backing up against the wall, want to survive here to the next round of that lower bracket.
Two different Miner looks, Miner with Bomb Tower for Arden, but Miner Mortar for Wallace. And that Bomb Tower plus Goblins did put Arden in a bit of an elixir hole very early in this game.
And for people maybe wondering why we're starting to see so much Mortar, it's because it matches up so well against E-Giant Lightning. It's one of the tankier buildings out there. It doesn't shoot E-Giant when it's up close, so it can't reflect it back. Big shout out there to Juicy J, because you know me, I want to know why there's more Mortar out in the mix, and that's exactly why, for those at home maybe wondering the exact same thing.
Poison plus the high Mortar in for the Loon. And you saw Arden go for the King Tower activation with the Goblins in front of his King Tower, but the Miner that he already had down actually distracted the Mortar to bring that shot backwards. So a little over expenditure again from Arden, who takes a big breath here.
And that's nerves. That's just nerves. You need to recognize, I mean, you're the one that sent in the Miner. You know how it works. It's going to go to the closest unit. Those Goblins, you would love that King Tower activation, but that's all nerves. And for Wallace, you need to hold on to that.
Well, you talk about things that we've all done, right? We've all set up a really good move, but not taken into account the one thing we'd already done that disrupts that, right? Whether it's something as simple as you went to NATO a hog to your King Tower, but you had a troop that got in the way, or something like we just saw. It's part of the game, but as you said, gotta move on. Right now, though, it's Wallace moving into a great advantage with 2198 on that left-hand side, and now an Evo Mortar Lock plus the minions on the Loon on the right-hand side.
Wow, and just a really aggressive push that doesn't go anywhere there for Arden Toas. Now Wallace running away with the lead here. Wallace has run Evo Mortar 16 times this season, but only at a 56% win rate, looking to add to it here.
And wow, Wallace just getting everything going his way.
And now Arden setting up with a balloon in the back. I mean, I feel like he's really feeling the pressure right now, but you know, he's still got a good amount of health on his towers. He doesn't need to make anything crazy happen this early on, and that's a nice Miner to pull everything back and get the balloon right up front.
Yeah, look at that low Mortar just controlling, giving the Little Prince time to take that Loon down and also get him cycled back around to the next Mortar, which he does have.
Yeah, and that is just an easy cleanup. That Evo'd Archer, though, causing a little bit of problems, so minions come out up high, and Wallace just seems to have every answer he needs here for Arden.
He's playing very calm, and you can see him kind of grooving right now.
Yeah.
I don't think they have any music in those headphones, but maybe he's got some music in his mind.
Just a screaming white noise that he's dancing to. And a beautiful high poison there, gonna get on top of everything, turning everything around again. And I think what I'm recognizing here, Rich, is that Arden isn't really innovating his pushes. He's just kind of running against the wall and hoping it's gonna break through, but you're playing against Wallace here, not me.
Yeah, that's a very important distinction. All right, here we go. Does the Evo Mortar retarget? No, the Archer will stay alive. But again, the Bomb Tower up here, that's a pretty hefty expenditure. But when you look at what Arden has available, there's not much he can spend differently to control that Mortar and not waste elixir on pretty much a dead job.
Yeah, and there you see here, Wallace just goes, okay, you're gonna start setting up a push to the left. I'm gonna set up my Mortar here. But the thing is he's got those Skellies, he's got, the Ice Spirit, that Little Prince, and those minions, and he's gonna be able to cycle back around to another Mortar. So, and another Poison. And there's the Poison. Now he's got the minions up high. Doesn't even need to drop anything else here. He can use the Mortar on the left-hand side.
And here he goes, back to another Mortar, but I do like the prediction play he made against those evolved Archers. We talked about that. Players getting, do we seem like we're, oh boy, arrows in, Ice Spirit to hold, Snowball comes down against the Goblins. Will the Loon connect? And the Loon gets a huge drop, and just like that, we've got a game on our hands, folks.
Archer gets a shot as well. Monk can use his ability, and this is absolutely massive. Balloon is in up high, does get picked up by the Little Prince, and Mortar comes down, but Wallace starting to make a lot of mistakes.
Miner into the back, Ice Spirit to catch, and then the Goblins. Snowball, though, to clear. The Miner does not get much out of it. Miner opposite direction.
Look at that left tower, Rich.
Oh boy, Goblins in front, 20 seconds left, 865, 750.
Evo Archers plus Monk up high, Poison out of cycle now. Miner gonna go in here for Arden and Wallace.
And this is huge. Oh, the reflection on the log by Arden Toas. Oh my word, game was in hand, and now suddenly
Arden saying, I'm not gone yet. You love to see that. The poise, being able to reconnect himself. That is not the same man that you and I saw in 2022.
No, that was absolutely huge and a very big difference, as you just mentioned. And it really felt like Wallace had everything together, but the one big problem that started happening for him was that he stopped being able to get offense done, and the poison wasn't able to keep him in the fight, and suddenly he was trying to do too many things at once. Loon skips through, and here we go.
Yeah, final 30 seconds in here, and the big thing, Rich, you called it out. You saw Wallace grimace when it happens. Watch his face here as this comes down to the final moments, because we're still neck and neck here. You're still able to come back from it. Evo'd Archers bait out that poison, and then he goes pressure, pressure, pressure after the ability comes in. Look at that log, Rich.
Oh boy.
Look at that log.
Oh boy, nothing you can do at that point, and that is a big win for Arden, and Wallace has to regroup here as he knows this is an elimination game.
Yeah, and that is a huge one for Arden because it felt like things were going so wrong for so long for him that if he did actually drop that game, it would have been incredibly demoralizing. But on the other side of that, being in the driver's seat for almost 5 full minutes and then having just one small interaction change that, flip it on a dime, this is why we love Clash Royale League World Finals and, of course, elimination matches.
I mean, that's the best part, right? Is today we're just sending people home. That's hard for everybody, but it's also the pressure is up, the excitement is up. And now the question that you just asked, does Arden take that win and go with it in the right direction? Does he feel some of that pressure relief? Or does he go, wow, I was in trouble that whole way there and kind of got a gift?
I mean, that's actually a really great point that you make, but let's go back to the point you made earlier about momentum, right? Wallace on momentum from winning, Arden not obviously from getting knocked down by Mugi, so maybe they're actually balanced out, but the thing is now Arden has the life to give, so you imagine that momentum is now in his favor, and man, there's only one way to find out what's gonna happen.
Game 2, let's go. Snowball, arrows out for Arden, log Miner out for Wallace. Miner, of course, also out for both of those, as well as poison for Wallace. Maybe it's his turn to go Loon or Ram Rider. E-Giant is open for Arden.
And Wallace just sitting back, waiting to see Lumberjack. Lumberjack has been paired with Ram Rider the most in this competition, but could also be Balloon now that we're seeing Bowler.
Wallace has been enjoying playing bridge spam variations, and now it's RG Bowler Ghost for Arden.
Is the Lumberjack in that deck that you were talking about earlier? Oh, never mind. Now we know exactly where it is. We're going to the skies. You were talking to me earlier about a fun bridge spam Bowler deck that you had been playing, and not going to be the case here as a Evo to RG.
That is a huge expenditure. You are getting a positive trade there, right? You're getting 8 off the board for 6. Lumberjack, though, does still shred a Royal Giant.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting a lot of value there. I just don't know if you want to spend that much in single elixir here, and now we should see a good amount of damage coming in for Wallace.
Way to mitigate that damage from Arden, though, with the Electro Spirit last play to help the Phoenix get it off the board. So certainly a big shot taken, but nothing you can't recover from here. Lightning does have some good targets, especially that Electro Dragon, as we've already seen.
And a very aggressive Royal Giant evoed at the bridge, and no NATO in cycle, so gonna have to use a freeze instead, and Wallace is pretty happy with that.
Yeah, he's gonna take just only takes 1 here, so they're pretty close, almost tied, 21-14 to 21-31. But he doesn't have the ability to push the Royal Giant back. He can pull it away with the NATO, but really it's gonna come down to stunning, damaging as fast as he can, and alternating between the Electro Dragon and the Freeze.
And I was just gonna say, the thing though is that Arden only has 1 air defense card. Now that it's out of cycle, you see Wallace pushing the issue here on the right-hand side. He goes Lumber Loon, and I don't know about that Lightning, man. He should be able to get back around to the Phoenix. There it is, but the Freeze, exactly, the Freeze is in, and that is massive damage for Wallace.
A lot to deal with on the left-hand side, though, as Wallace does face a Bowler, a Ghost, and a Phoenix. Ghost goes invisible. Wow. Electro Dragon gonna get lightninged off, and And look at this lead that Arden's about to take as we go into sudden death.
And nothing to support this Phoenix on the right-hand side, no, but does get a little bit of chip damage in. 839, 1497. Arden Toas back in the driver's seat.
Just the massive blows being delivered back and forth, and that's what these two decks do. These are not decks that dink and dunk and get little bits of damage here and there.
And the Barbell at the bridge trying to just get something here out of Arden, but he's already got that Royal Ghost in the back. And more lightning value in here for Arden, and Wallace just giving it away, maybe trying to bait it out, we'll see.
Trying to find some opportunity to get through on this right-hand side, and now Phoenix is distracted. Does he have a way to keep that Phoenix away?
And the freeze, there's the freeze!
He has to NATO this Phoenix away. Can he do it? But no, the King Tower activation will prevent that, and this might be it, Andrew.
Yeah, he's got to deal with this Royal Giant. He does have NATO to pull it back. I believe there's the NATO, but he got a shot! And that is it! Wallace is eliminated!
And Arden Toas came in with a huge weight on his shoulders. 2 wins at World Finals, and suddenly he finds himself in a whole new world.
Now he's in an absolutely different class of competitor. Look, you open up day 1 with a win. You lose to a former world champion. You're sent down below, and you battle through a very tough game 1. He stole it, and now it feels like he is just as S-tier as everyone else there in the world.
Well, people have said that when he's playing at home, that's S-tier, and if he ever learns how to turn the stage into his bedroom, we all have to watch out, and right now, we're feeling that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so happy for him in his sophomore year. AC, how's the kid doing?
Okay, talk to me about those final 10 seconds in game number 2. What were you feeling?
Entonces, dime, ¿qué te ha pasado? ¿Qué ha pasado por tu cabeza en los últimos 10 segundos del segundo juego?
Pasó por mi cabeza básicamente que mi rival cometió un error y me atacó con todo. Yo sabía que el globo no iba a pegar a torre, entonces ataqué y ya sabía que iba a ganar.
What I thought was that my opponent made a mistake and he left the tower that I could attack, so I did it.
So you were 0-14 in live matches. You have now won 2 different times at the World Finals. How does that feel?
Entonces, al principio tenías 14 pérdidas en tu cuenta. Ahora tienes 2 victorias a nivel mundial de campeonato. ¿Cómo eso te hace sentir?
Obviamente no creo que contento, pero satisfecho. Yo creo que puedo lograr aún más y creo que todavía no pierdo, así que voy a dar mi máximo nivel.
I hesitate if I should say I feel okay with it. I still would like to win some more, and I am focused on doing that.
Are you having fun here?
¿Te estás divirtiéndote aquí?
Claro que sí, me divierto y porque es un juego y me gusta mucho esto.
Of course, this is a game I play, so I have lots of fun.
There you go. Love seeing players have fun, and hope we're all having fun as well.
Well, I know I'm having a blast, and next to me on the desk, Jackson Juicy J. Wall, you're having a pretty good time with Clash Royale today as well.
Absolutely. I mean, especially that match, I just loved watching Arden really get into his element. You know, he did a great job of overcoming that kind of stigma that he had at the beginning of the World Finals. He got that first win, and now he's really just getting into the boots.
Yeah, the opportunistic play of Arden Toas as well, taking advantage of those big openings. And we talked about that a lot, Jackson, is sometimes you're able to do that really easily at home, but then when those openings happen on the big stage, you have those nerves, it's harder to pull the trigger.
Yeah, and the other thing is I just really loved watching his play in general. He did a great job of, like you said, taking that moment, realizing the opportunity, and then punching in the perfect way as well. He had really good micro, and he always was predicting his opponent as well with those prediction arrows on those minions especially.
Those were really, really important for him. And speaking of important, he is, of course, staying alive as we are eliminating 6 players, 2 already out at this stage. And Arden's day is not done yet. He's gonna have to go back and play again with that elimination. And of course, you've played in some of those big bracket moments. When you're trying to go from game to game, do you take any time to sort of rest and reset, or are you right back in there preparing for the next match?
Personally, I would never rest and celebrate because the job's not done yet. And I hope that's how Arden's thinking as well. He is going to be playing against Ruben in match 21 coming up fairly soon.
Yeah, that's going to be very soon. And Ruben, of course, yet another difficult out. But you talk about sort of the route that Arden's had here so far. His first matchup of the entire weekend against Sosa, the loss to Mugi, but then now the win here over Wallace. So a win over Ruben would be a pretty big feather in his cap at this stage.
Yeah, and the reason is because Ruben, he's just so good. He's been in the game forever. Andrew was talking earlier about how when he won the 2020 World Champion, he was considered to be the best player in the world at that stage. And it's so fascinating to see him come back this year and prove that he still got it. And Arden, more of an up-and-comer, I mean, he's got a lot to prove as well.
Well, you know, harkening back to some of your first time on a big stage, of course, you have a lot of experience in that. You can expound on that in a little bit, but first let's go ahead and get our next match queued up with Andrew Guy.
And coming up next for a match that the winner is guaranteed a minimum of $40,000. Please welcome back Vitor and Adriel!
And we are back. Who are the two players? I'm just getting situated.
We got Vitor and Adriel, match 19. You know, Vitor 75, multiple-time world champion. It is the lower bracket, though. It is an unfortunate circumstance, as potentially. But we have Adriel, you know, once again, another rookie, but just so good. I mean, he's qualifying through points. His thing is consistency.
Yeah, consistency is his middle name. He's been doing it for a long, long time. On the other end, Vitor is the player that I really, really want to focus on right now because we saw what happened last set. He had a few problems. He was trying to get himself, you know, extra games and it didn't work out for him. So it's really going to be important to see how he can reset his mind.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the predictions. 62% of the viewers at home think that Vitor is going to walk away with a victory. So a lot of people think that he can get that reset in.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I think that Clash Royale, it's just one of those games where it's very easy to get tilted. I think we've all experienced that. But Vitor, one of those players where he can do it all. He can play ladder, he can play in these competitions. No matter what, he's gonna go for the win.
Yeah, and speaking of going for the win, one of these two players will do that right now. Let's head into game number 1. Heading into game number 1. Vitor, Adriel. Vitor trying to reset, Adriel trying to keep the momentum going.
Adriel and Vitor both waiting. Goes for the archers in the back, Evo version. We see Evo Mortar take the stage once again and a bomb tower to stop that right away. I think the crowd before shouted Mortar. Maybe they got their prediction right.
And actually, I want to make sure, have you talked about why we are seeing Mortar so often? Because you were talking to me about it earlier today, and I thought it was incredible insight.
Yeah, obviously Mortar not one of the best evolutions in the game, but it does apply a lot of pressure, and it is so good at defending Electro Giant. Electro Giant really coming into the meta as it counters Minor Poison and Goblin Giant beatdown decks. So I think that's why we're seeing it a lot more in the 2023 World Finals.
Adriel not going to be running any of those decks right there. Instead, going to be going with the Mighty Miner Wall Breakers deck that we've seen quite a bit this weekend. Again, I was talking about it at the beginning of the show. It feels like a meta was introduced and all these players believe that there's really only 3 to 6 decks that you can actually cycle from to have a chance this weekend.
It really is fascinating. We see the minions plus goblins plus ice spirits, not really a normal thing, but the minions just so good versus the little prince. We see the evil archers all over the place, getting lots of value in a multitude of different decks. Miner coming in right here, though. It is a Miner poison mirror matchup. Mortar being the only change, but Adriel taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, right there. You would have loved to see the poison be placed 2 to 3 to 4 tiles, even a little bit higher. And right there, Vitor, forgetting about the left lane, he can go all in. This is beautiful to watch, and that's going to be a mortar lock. Can he protect it? The archers are targeted onto the goblins. This is huge for Vitor.
Mortar, so many shots. Will it get one more?
Oh.
Yes, it does. It always gets that last shot. Goblin gonna get 2 stabs on tower as well. This might very well be a game over. All he needs to do is defend for the next 50 seconds.
Are you kidding me? Adriel's only gonna use 2 elixir on the left lane, and Vitor's still able to recognize that's too many elixir used. That is such a beautiful adjustment right there. Gets the tower down to 254, and with 35 seconds left.
And
there we go.
Yeah.
Tower fully down at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that was just the icing on the cake at that point. Vitor using his own miner, predicting the mighty miner to pull the mortar, pulling all the way over. Mortar locks on tower. I mean, I wish we could have seen that when it actually mattered, but it's going to be tower down, and maybe he'll do it again in another match.
There we go. 10 seconds left. Vitor hanging on, going in with the prediction poison. Not going to catch anything because Adriel is going to recognize, hey, let's head into game number 2. Brilliant stuff from Vitor, and I really want to point this out. The match where he was having those struggles, he was running the Mortar Miner deck we just saw. He came back in and said, look, it didn't work out that first game. I'm not afraid. Oh wow, we already have one of those competitors here. I'm not scared. I can win with this deck, I promise.
Yeah, and that's what Vitor does. You know, he does not stay down when everyone telling him that he should. He gets up and he says, you know what? I'm going to run this deck again, and I'm not going to just win with it. I'm going to dominate in that match. That was some beautiful gameplay.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we expect from him. So yeah, we have Mortar out, Mortar Miner out of the way, and then Miner Wallbreakers out from Adriel. We saw Vitor, I believe he was running a E-Giant Lightning, or maybe it was Goblin Giant Lightning earlier today, so we could see him go back to that, considering he already used one of his decks from earlier today as well. Adriel, what do you tell Adriel to run after losing with Miner Wallbreakers?
Losing a mirror matchup is always tough. I feel like he's definitely going to go to some comfort. Hopefully he's got his coach's information memorized here, because I see Vitor has got that piece of paper and he's ready to rumble with that cheat sheet there.
Yeah, and I can't believe that he was on the screen and I wasn't paying attention, because it's my absolute favorite thing, just to look at the fingers shake, because I know if that was me up there, even like my hands are shaking so crazily, because it is so hard to just prepare yourself, calm down, and these players so far this weekend have done a very, very good job of doing so. We see it. Oh, let's take a look at that. Oh, and they moved it away from me. I feel like they're doing that on purpose.
The other thing I gotta note is Vitor's composure here. After winning that first match, it was just stone cold, because he knows that, once again, the job is not done yet. Let's see if he can finish it right now. Let's hop into game 2.
Getting some great crowd work in right now. Beautiful stuff, everybody. Keep it up. Yeah.
We're hopping in game. Once again, leaking some elixir. Spear Gods at the bridge from Vitor. Ghost in the back from Adriel. A Barbarian Barrel as well. Gonna be Recruit Spam versus Royal Giant. Adriel at the bottom with RG.
Ghost getting a little bit of damage onto the Royal Recruits. Royal Recruits taking it out just in time. Vitor, I'm trying to think if he was the player that used this. I think it was day one. Maybe it was somebody else, but we didn't see a lot of success because Mother Witch was a possible card used. It does not appear that Adriel is running it for this game. So we'll see if this deck actually manages to work out this time.
Instead of Mother Witch, we're seeing a bit of Little Prince action in the Royal Giant. This deck was very popular on release of the Little Prince. It does a great job of adding another tank, and that's what RG is all about. It's almost like a tank bait deck. You have the Ghost, you have that Royal Giant baiting out your opponent's tank, but you also have the Fisherman plus that Little Prince ability.
Yeah, and those Ghosts are just so difficult to stop, and we're going to see it with Vitor's deck. If he does not have Recruits in cycle, it's always going to be extremely difficult to stop it right there. Has to use the ability in order to take the Ghost off the board. Both players just kind of resetting right now, heading into overtime in about 20 seconds.
I'm interested to see what the spell is going to be for Adriel here, because if he doesn't have a Fireball, dealing with the Dark Goblins are going to be extremely annoying because the Barbarian Barrel does not reach that far.
Yeah, very clean defense right there. Adriel not panicking whatsoever. Spirit Goblins at the bridge from Vitor, going to force out a Phoenix. So a 2-for-4 action right there. And he's got the Evo to Royal Recruits in hand.
Evo Recruits in the back. Fisherman going to the same lane. Fisherman, not a great counter. Ghost is decent. Adriel desperately needs another Barbarian Barrel. Maybe it's not necessary, though. He's got the Little Prince ability. Barbaro goes on the right side. I love the E-Spirit as well to make sure that Dark Goblin does go down.
Yeah, that E-Spirit right there getting a ton of value, but the Spirit Goblins are going to still be staying alive. That is clean defense from Adriel. And he still has 6 Elixir and all these troops still on the board.
Ghost getting wiped out. Dark Goblin once again getting a lot of value. Phoenix on the left. Adriel is going full defensive mode right now, but he needs damage as well. It's going to be interesting to see how he manages to do that. What do you think it is his best bet to get damage in this match where Vitor's constantly pressuring?
Yeah, right here. I think it's going to be something like this because the Little Prince, when it's activating its ability on offense, it's always going to get a ton of value. Guardian going to be able to swipe everything out of the way, and this tower is getting dangerously low for Vitor. He's been applying pressure all day, but Adriel finally seeing his opportunity and utilizing that beautifully. Gets a ton of damage, getting the tower down to 1120.
Fireball does come out on the wall breakers. Spear Goblin's bridge, Dark Goblin other side. Dark Goblin getting so much value, killed everything, plus got damage, but it wasn't enough. He is still in the damage deficit.
E-Spirit to take out the Skelly. Skellies get 2 shots, plus the death damage from the Skeleton Barrel. Recruits, not the Evo ones, so Adriel's just going to try and get a clean defense and possibly go in with another RG. He does have the Evo RG inside.
Royal Giant, sorry, not Royal Giant, a different RG, the Royal Ghost, going to be taking out the Recruits there. We do see another counter push. You have to remember, Adriel also has his Evo Royal Giant in cycle, and he's waiting to use it for the perfect moment.
Yeah, right there with the Mighty Miner down on the field. You can't really go RG into that. A lot of pressure on both lanes. Barbaro going to be able to clean up everything pretty nicely right there. So many small, just difficult defenses, and he's cleaning it up very nicely every single time.
Very well said. Plus, look at the damage on the right-hand side. Now Adriel's in a situation where if he just continues to defend, he should be able to take this dub, but he's got to do it in triple elixir with 35 seconds left.
34 seconds left right now. Vitor needs to figure something out going in with the Skeleton Barrel. Finally, we see the spell be used, and I just don't think it's going to be enough. 25 seconds left, and look, Adriel is going to be able to defend out and then maybe get an RG. There we go. We do see the RG from Adriel.
Evo Recruits for the defense, but there's no building. That's what I was talking about earlier. There's no building in a lot of the decks in the meta, and that allows this Royal Giant to connect for massive damage. Tower's going down. Adriel taking game 2.
I just love how Adriel played that. It was defense, defense, defense. Hey, my opponent doesn't have a building. I can go in with the Evo RG whenever I want to, as long as I play, slow. That's the name of the game with Clash Royale. Patience always wins it. And right there, Patience won it for him. He got to go in with the Evo RG.
Yeah, and we see that a lot with Royal Giant. In certain matchups, when you're going against cycle decks, you want to be very aggressive with your Royal Giants. Royal Giant in the back, you want dual lane pressure, you want 2, 3, 4 Royal Giants in the mix. But when it comes to a bit heavier decks, you are having super solid defense with your cycle cards, with your spells, and then waiting for the correct moment to strike, and that's exactly what he did, perfectly executed.
Yeah, Evo RG, I'm glad that it's back in the meta. I mean, it's unfortunate that it has to be because Bowler is back in the meta and you're trying to beat that. But still, Evo RG, it's a fun card to watch. There's so many opportunities to place it down on the board. I love seeing quick cycle decks, and that's what we always get with those RG decks.
Royal Giant. The other thing is metas in Clash Royale are always changing. And that's what's happening right now. We see both of these players preparing their next set of decks. They need to not only be preparing for what they think their opponent could play, but also taking into account and realizing all of the different cards that they have used so far to get the most value in their deck for Game 3.
Yeah, and right now we're a few seconds away from game number 3. Wow, these are great cameras. Shout out to the camera crew right there, doing a great job. And yeah, game number 3, everything on the line. What was it, $10,000 for winning just one game at this point?
One game at this point, and then you get an extra boost of cash once you get around the 1st through 4th placement. You know, I gotta ask Rich, what do you think about that last game? We have you up here, I gotta ask you a question.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what you would expect out of Adriel, and you know, the opening was there, he took it, and more importantly, it seems right now this is just game 1, Vitor asserting dominance, if you will. Shout out Jake in the crowd, and other way for Adriel game 2.
And it sounds like the game is ready for game number 3, so we're gonna hop straight into it. Let's do it.
Crowd asking where the Sparky is. Who knows? We might see it in this next game.
Ice Spirit the bridge, no Sparky from Adriel. Vitor with the snowball, and a Hog Rider. Is this gonna be a Hog Rider matchup? No, Vitor with the bowler.
Vitor pulling out the bowler. Let's see if one of these players, I've got a good feeling Adriel is not gonna be pulling out Sparky in this, so now the crowd's only hope is gonna be Vitor at this point.
Wow, and missed arrows. This is such an important moment because that one firecracker has the potential to get so much value. On the other hand, it could be a little bit scary for Vitor because it might mean a King Tower activation.
Yeah, right there, mini P.E.K.K.A plus Snowball gonna be able to clean everything up nicely, but this Firecracker, I mean, this is one of those interactions where you make one mistake with 10 seconds into the game, and you have to pay for that for the next 2 minutes.
Yeah, and Vitor was not able to get that King Tower activation, so maybe he can get it later. Having King Tower activation this early would be so nice versus a Hog Rider deck, though.
So Vitor, 2 cards left. I mean, is this crazy? Is it Giant Graveyard, Giant Bowler Graveyard? We haven't seen anything like that so far. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of Zappies, we haven't seen a lot of Bowler. Well, we have seen that. But yeah.
I'm gonna make a bold prediction here, Josh.
Okay.
I think this could be like Graveyard mini P.E.K.K.A. I mean, it's crazy to say, but and you called it as well. Giant Graveyard, Inferno Tower, ready for the defense. Does he have the Earthquake for the Graveyard? There it is. A solid defense, but he does have Snowball, not Log. That could play a huge part in the future.
Yeah, right there. Giant Graveyard plus the Bowler. That's 15 Elixir coming down the lane, and Adriel defends with only the Inferno Tower Earthquake Ice Spirit. A beautiful 6 Elixir trade. And again, he has the Hog EQ. He's going to be able to go all in, very aggressive for the rest of this game. Beautiful prediction, Snowball. Not going to do any damage, but it is going to intimidate Vitor. At least it would intimidate me.
Snowball is such an interesting card when paired with and when going against a Hog Rider. A lot of the time, you can get lots of damage. Oh, Josh exclaiming here because the Hog is going in front. Snowball does allow for 1 shot, but this might give Vitor a chance to get a nice push gun.
Yeah, this would have been a massive push if the Hog would have been behind the Knight instead. Still a solid one. The Knight is always so powerful. Mini P.E.K.K.A placed right on top, and he's still going to go in with the Hog. The skeletons are on the tower, needs to force out the snowball, and Vitor is in a world of hurt. He is struggling against these just these hog earthquake snowball pushes.
The other thing I have to mention is Adriel's building of choice. That Inferno Tower is making it so hard for Vitor to attack. He does not have a reset other than the Zappies, but realistically, those Zappies will never reach that Inferno Tower.
And right there, again, places the hog in front, and again, it doesn't matter, still able to get a shot. These firecrackers are getting so much value, don't even need the evolution for it, and right now, Earthquake to defend, Hog on offense. Vitor needs to figure something out, and I just don't know what he could possibly do.
Bowler is not enough to stop this Hog Raider. Will the snowball be? Noble, not Hog Raider with another shot. Are you kidding me?
Vitor probably going to go in with the Graveyard, but I just don't think it's going to do anything whatsoever. I mean, he needs to get in a cycle where he's going Mini P.E.K.K.A. against the Hog and protecting the Giant. Right now, the high Zappies could have been special, but because of the Earthquake, that's going to be able to take the tower. Adriel takes game number 3, the reverse sweep, and Adriel moving on to the next round.
Adriel with, I'm speechless. Like you said, reverse sweep and just a beautiful death pick. In the gameplay to back it up, I can't believe what I've just seen.
How do you predict and Giant Graveyard? Nobody's ran that this weekend, and he's still predicting that with the Inferno Tower, the Hog, and the EQ. That was delicious gameplay from start to finish, and yeah, very clean gameplay from him.
And it really, I wanted to say more, but Andrew's ready with the interview. Let's hear it from the man himself.
All right, first of all, congrats to Adriel for an incredible survival there in the elimination bracket. Okay, back up against the wall. You're facing elimination. Why Royal Giant in game number 2?
Entonces, primera cosa, enhorabuena para ti por este juego. Y una pregunta es cómo, con tus cuestas, con tus espaldas cerca de la pared, encarando la eliminación, ¿por qué has usado el gigante?
Usé Gigante Noble en el segundo enfrentamiento porque él había gastado muchas herramientas para parar este mazo.
I use this Royal Giant because I've already used lots of tools that could go here, so that's why I use him.
Okay, maybe trying to be a little bit unpredictable. So, I gotta say, your poise, your composure, your confidence is incredible for someone that is so new to the live stage. How do you do it, man?
Y entonces tu pose, tu postura, tu cara, expresión es tan calma para la persona tan nueva para el juego. ¿Cómo es posible? ¿Cuál es tu secreto?
Después de que perdí contra Mugi en la primera partida, se me fueron los nervios y después de ahí estoy jugando más que bien.
There was this moment when I was against Mugi, when I was very nervous, but after that I managed to calm myself and I'm okay.
Well, calm definitely paid off here as Adriel has to go right back into it in just a little bit. Back to you guys in the booth.
I know he's saying that he got nervous, but I really don't believe it. That is not the face of a man who's nervous, ever.
Yeah, you can't tell, and I love how he really just took advantage of that one mistake. It really seemed like that one mistake at the beginning, Vitor missing those arrows, just shifted the entire momentum of the match and just allowed Adriel to take that driver's seat, and he never let go of it the entire time. It was so perfect the way he played.
Yeah, I think I was lying earlier when I said you make a mistake within the first 10 seconds, it affects the game for the next minute. He made a mistake in the first 10 seconds, and the rest of the game was difficult for him. We have Rich on the desk. Talk to us about this match.
Well, one more piece from that last game. You have Giant, you have Bowler, and you're facing an Inferno Tower, which we have not seen much Inferno Tower yet this weekend, and Adriel pulled it out at the exact right moment. But speaking of the exact right moment, let's go and take a look at a big moment from game number 2. When you talk about how important this deck picking is, how important these situations can be, this is some of the defensive Adriel that really worked out well. If we take a little pause here, keep an eye just on the middle as you see the Fisherman, but we're used to Fisherman Hunter, Fisherman Mini P.E.K.K.A., but welcome to the Fisherman Little Prince era. As the Little Prince will come out and you just see pull, shoot, and oh yes, a fireball, but take a look at the deck here of Vitor. There's nothing else besides that fireball for it, so Little Prince now's gonna go ahead and just keep on shooting everything. Look, there goes your Mighty Miner. Oh, how about those goblins? Little Prince does everything, which is really great for Adriel, because now, because it did so much work, now we still have this guy right here. The Electro Spirit didn't have to come out on defense because of that Fisherman Little Prince combination. It comes out and just devastates this attempt at defense, and that's an evolved Royal Giant that gets a stun moment and then can go ahead and do its Evo boom to drop that tower. So great work by Adriel and great matchup work by Adriel and his team.
I never would have thought of the Fisherman pulling it into the Little Prince. That's a great call, because I mean, it makes sense. The Little Prince doesn't have to move, starts charging up, and then starts going to work.
Not only that, but then maybe you get an opportunity where you can use your ability, get the pull plus knockback combo that we see so much with the log. And it really is a fantastic way to get lots of value on defense and then convert that to that counter push that won him the game.
Yeah, and right there, beautiful stuff to be able to complete the reverse sweep from a man who pretends that he was nervous. And right now, I want to see what our next match will be. Andrew, talk to us.
Well, AC, it's a rematch of last year's lower bracket finals. Our defending world champion going up against the world number 3. It's Samuel Basoto and Mohamed Light.
And so yesterday, us two on the desk, we were blessed with Basoto playing one of the greatest matches I've ever seen, going against Morton. And today we're blessed with another one of those premier matchups, Basoto against Mohamed Light. Everybody in the entire world is excited about this, except Basoto. I'm sure he's sick to his stomach to have to go against these giants, this gauntlet in front of him.
Yeah, and the other thing I need to point out is that every other caster picked Mohamed Light, but I did pick Samuel to win this match. The reason why I got to say that is because Samuel did beat Mohamed Light in the final, I think it was the final monthly finals, not once but twice. And we talk about Samuel's win rates skyrocketing ever since the evolutions got added, mode lights going down a little bit. But even then, after saying all of this, I still don't know if my pick will stand true, because mode light is him.
It's just so hard. I mean, it's so hard to root against. I mean, think that either one of these players are going to lose. Basoto, obviously, I think, what was it, like 7-1 since evolutions were introduced. Both of these players have an immense, I mean, they've been on the live stage over and over again. And yeah, I mean, one of these players is going to walk away a winner. And let's find out now. Game 1. Let's start it.
The crowd is getting very, very riley, and I love to hear it. This is a monster matchup. Mohamed Light with 87% win rate versus Samuel Basoto's 77. Let's see how this match shapes up. Maybe a bit of a mirror to start. You know, Cycle could be anything, could be Miner, could be Hog, but it looks like Mo is using Royal Giant.
Juicy, if I go like 40 seconds without commentating and I just have my mouth open, just give me a slight nudge. Make sure that I'm actually, you know, still with everybody else.
Royal Giant Phoenix Fisherman at the bridge to start off. Bomb Tower is gonna get taken out really quickly. I can't help but think that was a mistake. Is Mo Light gonna win this match already?
Right there, Monk able to get the RG down, but the Phoenix is going to be able to wake up and take everything out. Mo with a brilliant start, only giving up a slight damage. And Basoto going to struggle against this. forces out a snowball as well. Mohamed Light in a brilliant spot right now. This is exactly how he drew it up. Basoto on the other side, probably pretty upset.
Yeah, I can't help but wonder about that bomb tower placement. Everything's settled though. After everything, Mo Light, Sim, they're both about even in Elixir, but Mo having a very solid damage lead. Not to mention, Mo also having the Evo Royal Giant up next.
Right here, it does appear that Basoto is going to be running a balloon deck. We're seeing a lot of balloon this weekend. Always a fun card to watch because it's so important to recognize what cards are out of cycle right now. Basoto thinks that it's the perfect time to go in. The Archers are going to take out the Phoenix all the way. This is going to be a balloon on tower. Mo taking a ton of damage right now. That's going to get another shot at... No, wow. Basoto not able to get the third shot from the balloon.
Balloon doesn't get another shot, but this RG is going to get a ton. RG goes, Phoenix on tower. Tower going down before double elixir is even in play, and this push is not done yet.
Everything in the pocket forces out the arrows. The Archers are going to come down on the board, going to be able to take out the RG. Basoto probably going to set himself up with another Loon push. Not going to try and go in with a miner. And there we go, the distraction. And that is brilliant from Basoto. He's not going to overspend. Think that his Loon is going to go in front. And right there, Mo gets it. He's trying to bring the Monk back, and he finally gets it. Forces Basoto to have the Loon cross with nothing to protect. That was a beautiful cat and mouse game from both of these brilliant pros.
It goes down, only 20 seconds left on the clock. Another balloon inbound. Mo Light does have the Phoenix here to defend, plus a Rage Arrows. Mo Light is rubbing his hands together. He knows he's got this win in the bag.
Yeah, that was a lot of great plays in a row from both of these players, but right there, the Loon going in front, nothing to protect it, and Mo gonna defend that easily, starting off the set 1-0 for Mo.
1-0 for Mo, and Sam in a situation where he needs to win 2 games in a row for a reverse sweep. And I love Sam, but I gotta point out some big mistakes here in this last match. That Monk was so surprising as it was taking for the balloon, because it was actually pulling the ghost backwards. His Archers were staying alive. If he popped that ability sooner, he would have got that third shot, as you mentioned, and that game would have been a lot closer. But those small mistakes is all that it takes at the game at this level.
And right here, we're going to take a quick little look at this.
Well, this is exactly what I was talking about.
And this is exactly what you're talking about, Monk.
Ability needs to be now. The ability is not happening, it happens too late, and that allows the tower to target the balloon a lot earlier. It also allows the ghost to kill those Archers.
Yeah, I mean, that's a brilliant call out. The Phoenix would have been targeted onto the Monk if he times that correctly. Instead, Basoto going to struggle on defense right there, takes out the tower. And I mean, it was just start to finish, not the cleanest game from Basoto. I mean, we saw the early bomb tower mistake, and we see that mistake right there. I don't think that it's the nerves that are getting to him, but you have to wonder, why is he making these mistakes right now?
It's tough to say, you never know. Mo Light, though, on the other hand, really taking advantage of those mistakes, and that's what he does best. Mo Light, you know, he has a great micro, he has the great macro gameplay, but he also is so good at getting a damage lead and just holding on to it with perfect defense.
Yeah, right here, we're seeing a lot of balloon. I think it goes back to exactly, I mean, no, because then the E-Giant NATO is going to be able to... I'm just surprised to see Balloon be played by so many of these pros. It feels like a lot of these pros, they think that they can play every single deck perfectly, and I think we're seeing that, you know, you really have to practice. You really have to get the reps in sometimes.
I think the other thing to mention is that Monk, we've seen so much Monk today, and it seems like it never works out. Players have really done a great job of adapting to the Monk throughout its lifetime, and as we saw at the end, pulling the Monk backwards away so that it cannot tank for the balloon. That is something that happens so much. The game 2 is ready. Let's hop straight into it.
Crowd having a lot of fun. One of these players just should listen. Bring out the Sparky, bring out the bowler, you give the crowd what they want. Mo.
Instead, we see some Hoggy Q from Sam. Earthquake doing fantastic here. Mo with the Bomb Tower plus Evo Archers. I would love to see a Hoggy Q Miner matchup, but it is going to be Miner Poison versus Hoggy Q here.
You ready for this big word?
I'm ready.
Mo giving an inquisitive look towards his screen after seeing what he saw.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I started off strong and then I struggled. I was so excited about using the word inquisitive. All right, there we go. 45 seconds into the match. Basoto gonna be running Hog EQ. And Mo using the Miner Monk Loon. We're just seeing it from so many of these players. Loon is going to get pulled. I know everybody thought that it wasn't. That's just what Mortar likes to do. It likes to scare you, make you think that it's not gonna get pulled.
Okay, another big thing to mention here, it is Balloon at the bottom from Mo, Hoggy Q from Sam. We saw a similar matchup earlier today, but the big difference here is Sam does not have a building that targets air. He has only the mortar. The other thing to mention is Samuel Basoto using the Little Prince. That's a card that can only be on the board once at a time. So later in this match, a Monk plus Balloon combo could be very detrimental for Sam.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. He can't cycle it willy-nilly. He's going to struggle. I mean, it's potentially he can, because potentially he can go in with the mortar plus the Ice Spirit and it should be able to defend, but Basoto is going to struggle. He's gonna always have to be aware of how both of these players are set up with their cycle.
The other thing is Mo's last card should be arrows. Arrows are the natural counter to guards, giving him a very good advantage for breaking through with his Miner. As long as he has a prediction arrows in the Night and Cycle, it's going to be much more difficult for Sam to defend.
Oh, going to be able, or going to give up a little bit of damage. Arrows coming down, and this is exactly what we're talking about. Mortar is the only defense against this Loon. That is a 2 HP Miner on top of the tower. Tower locked onto the Loon, so that mortar is, or that Miner is going to work on the left side.
Evo Knight defends the Evo Archers. Ice Spirit to try and keep it as alive as possible versus guards. He wants to counter push with it. Miner coming in from Mo, not going to be picked up by the guards. Here comes the Hog Rider with Evo Knight taking Earthquake on the Bomb Tower.
Archers plus the Monk. Is it going to be able to get a shot? It does. Tower down to 1386. Basoto just pleading with his opponent. Please, let me get this to a game number 3.
He tries to block at the bridge. Mo knows that he's trying to do that, so he goes for his own guards. Monk ability does not pop. Little Prince is doing its best, but this mortar's going down, and this balloon is looking very high in HP, and this snowball is going to reset that Prince charge up.
And right there, that's going to get 2 shots if he does nothing about it. 600 HP for the tower. Earthquake going to come in for Basoto, trying to get the Hog on top of the tower, and it absolutely will. Gets the tower down to 790. Mo with Snowball, arrows, plus the Miner in order for chip damage. Guards to protect, not going to allow the Monk to get the ability, and it does, getting the tower down under 300 HP.
Hog does not get the shot. Log comes through. Miner is picked up by the Ice Spear and the Knight, but the Snowball pushes the Knight away. Miner on tower. Ladies and gentlemen, Muhammad Light taking a 2-0 sweep versus Samuel.
Basoto not going to be able to bring it to a game number 3. Mo, are you kidding me? Are we going to actually see this again, losing round number 1, and then he's going to try and work his way up from the lower bracket? This is he knows he's not supposed to do that, right?
I'm speechless once again. Whenever I watch Mo play, it is such a pleasure. And once again, like you said, is he actually going to do this for the 3rd time in a row? 2021, 2022, lose first round, through the losers bracket, win the whole thing, beating the winner finalist, not once but twice to take the championship, and he's looking to do that again this year.
Yeah, fantastic set from him right there. The 2-0 clean sweep. And yeah, I'd love to hear his thoughts. Andrew, what you got for us?
All right, congrats, Momo, on a very big win. Not quite done yet today, but first off, that game number 1, you went incredibly aggressive early on with that RG. Talk to me about what was going on through your mind and how you knew that Sam wasn't going to be able to defend that.
First of all, he had already cycled his archers, so he didn't have the archers from defense. And then he played the Monk at the bridge with the balloon and an ability, and I think he played Snowball too. So I realized that I can just take 2 Loon hits. Instead of fireballing, I can just go ahead with an Evo RG and rage everything up, and he didn't have enough elixir. Looks like it paid off.
And you've got Adriel up next. How are you feeling about that? Have you guys already strategized for that? Or were you planning on playing against him?
Sure, I was planning to play against Adriel or Vitor, so I made myself prepared for both of them. Let's see how it goes. I'll do my absolute best.
So are you just going to do a lower bracket run every single year? You just want to play a few more matches? What is it?
Looks like I love a lower bracket run, innit?
You're the only one, but it seems to be working out. Congrats to Momo here. Not done yet today. Back to you, boys.
And right there, Mo, I mean, look, apparently he loves it. I guess I can't disagree with that. If it's always going to bring you to the championships, why not?
Well, still a little more room to go there for Mohamed Light, but the one thing you do see is the difference in demeanor. And just like last year, opening match, Mo didn't look like Mo. He seemed nervous, seemed out of sorts. And then as he began to work through the lower matches, you saw him get more confident, more dangerous, and of course, more deadly. And that's what we've seen here so far.
And let's take a look at the decks used in that set. Mo, game number 1, going to be running RG Fireball Rage. And Basoto, I mean, it really was, he just could not get that one good Loon push. He almost got it, but then Mohamed Light did a great job of defending, bringing the Monk back across the bridge, not allowing for it to tank for the Balloon. And I mean, you get a lot of damage early on and then defend. Mo Light can always do that brilliantly. Let's take a look at game number 2.
And this game number 2 certainly was a thriller as Balloon switches sides. And talk about this one here, Josh. The defense against the Hog Rider varied consistently. We saw the bomb tower, obviously, but we saw the snowball, of course. Guards getting in the mix, though, as well.
Yeah, and I think, and this is something that I forgot to point out on the desk when it happened, but really it came down to Basoto was defending perfectly, not allowing too much arrows value for the guards, allowing the Little Prince to get a lot of value, but he misclicked the mortar. He put it one tile to the left too much, and then the Balloon was able to go after the mortar, take it out, and that's just a mistake you can't make against Mohamed Light. He's always going to be able to capitalize on that.
That's a mistake that sends you home. Very deep in this tournament, obviously. Samuel has made it through this lower bracket side, but again, there's one of those things that happens to a lot of people, and that's facing Mohamed Light with your back against the wall, and at the moment, Mo moves on. So taking a look at this lower bracket, Mohamed Light sends Samuel home here after a little bit of work and goes on to round number 3. Well, he will face Adriel next, which is a phenomenal matchup. Interesting, more on that one later because, of course, they are teammates who often work with the same coach. And then we will, of course, see Arden Toas and Ruben. So the lower bracket is finalized. And, of course, we are now down to our final 8.
Are you kidding me? I'm so excited to see that. And yeah, let's just hurry on up. All right, who are our next 2 opponents?
In our next elimination match, we have 2 of the best Spanish players in Clash Royale. The new guard versus the old guard. Arden Toas versus Ruben.
And of course, a classic match on Espanol between Spain and Mexico. Arden Toas, of course, with friends like Pompeo here to support him. And no surprises here, the raucous crowd behind Ruben, who has spent years gathering fans in Clash Royale.
Yeah, you know why he's got those fans for being a former world champion. These 2 met 3 times this year in CRL. Ruben taking that best of 3, 2-1, and you'll see if Arden can kind of bounce back. Again, we talked about momentum. Arden seems to be having that momentum in his favor, but then again, so does our former world champ.
Well, to me, it's a question of whether we feel like Arden's wins in the previous rounds were more about him or more about the other guy. Right, and I think that's going to be a big proving question here against Ruben, because Ruben's unlikely to give him big openings, big opportunities to capitalize on. So now Arden has to go up there and just play good Clash Royale and not hope that his opponent's going to open the door for him.
Yeah, and you look at the numbers here, and they make a lot of sense in terms of, who is versus who here. Arden, struggling a little bit to find those live stage wins. He finally gets them and then some, but then Ruben on the other side of it gets sent down to the lower bracket early on yesterday, and then is able to slowly work through it. I mean, a lot of people don't know Higher that well if they've just been watching for the last couple of years, but he is an exceptional player. And then you talk about the elimination at the end of day one over Morton, and it seems like Ruben is in his groove.
Well, let's go ahead and see if it's going to be the veteran or the newcomer. Ruben Arden starts now. And we're not hearing the yells we've had so far. Maybe everyone's feeling the tension.
Well, that was me down there.
Certainly a lot on the line as we get into our final 2 matches of the day that decide top 6, which is very different air than what Arden's experienced.
And you've heard Juicy talk about it. You get in that top 4 and that money just goes through the roof. And, you know, Ruben, someone that's played for an exceptional amount of money before. Arden maybe not getting into those 5 and 6 figures.
Arden with Tombstone and the Evo Archers.
Most likely going to be going to E-Giant, which is something that he's played a decent amount this year. Ruben going with an aggressive early Graveyard.
And maybe just reading the situation that there wasn't going to be a lot to sweep up these skeletons, and you're seeing that right there. A ton of damage and the high Tombstone to try to defend against the Little Prince.
Look at that!
But the Guardian sweeps right through it, and that might be the game in the very first minute.
It is. I mean, there's almost no way to come back from this. You know, Graveyard really is struggling when you're always getting a ton of pressure. You're trying to find moments to create offense. But if you take a tower this early on, Graveyard is also one of the best defensive decks in the game. And you can see there Arden shaking his head because his King Tower is now down below 2K. So now you still have the opportunity for Ruben to create pressure with the GY if he ever wants on King.
And I'd love to get more into that aggressive early play and maybe recognizing the Archers were no longer available to defend against the Graveyard. He thought, hey, let's go ahead and swing big early on.
And right now, you can see Ruben able to comfortably spend everything he needs here on defense. Could get a bar barrel out late. No, goes Evo Knight. Does get one bowler shot in for Arden, but that's still 2K HP to deal with, which is less than he has on his King Tower.
He made a great choice there too, using the Evolved Knight rather than the Little Prince ability, because that would of course reset the speed of the Little Prince attack, so keep that DPS on the board and do the same thing, which is protect it a little bit longer. Gotta wonder what's going through Arden's mind now with 40 seconds left. And
I mean, I like the idea of not giving up, Rich, but I also kind of like the idea of not committing too much emotion to the rest of this game. It seems like when you lose a tower to Graveyard that early on, you need to recognize, look, things did not go my way, but what can go my way is the rest of this set with the reset. But Arden, pedal to the metal here, another Tombstone in cycle, and I think as quickly as game number 1 started, it's out the window.
Nice Knight to protect the Baby Dragon for a little bit. Should be able to NATO this stuff back and get to another Tombstone if necessary. Goes Bar Barrel to turn, and that's going to be GG. Well played.
And that's the thing about Fancy Footwear, we talked about it. If you lose a tower to GY that early on, you're not able to create the pressure that keeps them from getting Graveyards out, and GY is one of the most defensive decks. But I know we've got a replay queued up. I know I'm not telling you guys to throw it up right now, but what I'm saying is that you'll see in this replay kind of what actually went wrong, and really what it comes down to is leaking Elixir for no reason, and I think that's nerf. So look at the top of your screen here. We're at point 4. Arden just doesn't know what to do. Pedro's wondering, Ruben's wondering, why are you not getting anything out here? He sees a Bar Barrel come opposite lane. You can ignore a Bar Barrel and an Archer, Rich, especially if you get a late Little Prince down, and he just goes hyper aggressive, and that is why he's a world champion. And this is the Ruben that everyone was scared of back in 2020 and 2021. You're gonna leak 2 Elixir on me? I'm gonna take your tower like that.
And that's such an aggressive play, but you see that, right? You talked about it, not only the bar barrel archer opposite direction, but now the two best ways to clean up those skeletons quickly.
Yes.
Gone, and Ruben just quick recognition, and that's one thing we've talked about a lot. The recognition to put the pedal to the metal has always been one of his best skills.
You know, I was listening to Josh and Juicy earlier talking about mistakes early on, and when you make a 4 elixir mistake that early on to someone like Ruben, I know it seems so minute to everyone else out there in the world, but this is a world-class player. And that, again, goes right back to what we talked about before, nerves.
Yeah, and that's something you can't stop, even if you get a couple wins in, because every single time you go to another match, it's more impactful than the first one.
Absolutely, the closer you get to that championship. And also, I mean, you think about the money, but these guys, they really want to just be crowned greatest in the world. That's something that no one can ever take away from you. I could take away 250 grand from you.
I mean, you've tried.
I'm going to keep trying.
And, you know, take a look at that same idea. You look at Ruben, and we've talked about this all week. We've been here since Saturday last.
Yeah.
And we've seen these players a lot. He has been so stone cold the entire time we've been here, and I'm not surprised at all to see him have that same attitude up there.
Yeah, and let's hop into the game. I'm going to continue on that thought. I think that there were some question marks out there for Ruben and how he was actually going to do on the live stage here. Obviously 2020, 21, it's things that were played back at home. Can he actually do it in 2023 on the live stage? And he has shown he can do it and then some with an exceptional showing. Yes, a little bit of a rough start to his tournament, but you can see how it's going from there on out.
I think people forget that Ruben played live in Spain for so long.
Yep.
And you might even call it the punk rock of Clash Royale, playing smaller shows in front of crazy Spanish-speaking crowds. And on top of that, Team Queso was one match away, only a couple games away in 2019 from moving on and going to World Finals. So the same thing there. He was playing not in front of a crowd, but in a live environment with his opponent there, cameras in your face. Ruben has that experience, and of course, we of course know that he's a world champion.
And he's going right back to Hog Rider, his comfort, but also Arden Toas' comfort. He ran Hog 9 times more than his second highest win condition. He's ran it almost 40 times this season in CRL with a 68% win rate. So maybe going right to comfort, and then you look what he's running into. Those archers are gonna be very difficult to take care of. They're gonna help snipe off these bomb towers. Those charged up princes and that Mega Knight are devastating to deal with. And then the bats. You can really only take care of the bats with that firecracker. So a lot of difficulties here and some great decksmanship from Ruben.
It's so interesting about this deck because obviously for a long time we had the MK Prince Miner deck that was so popular, and then players started experimenting with playing Hog here primarily because they wanted to preserve Miner for other decks, and then this just got discovered as, oh, it's a good meta deck.
And Hog gets a second big shot there for Ruben. Arden doesn't really react, but you know he felt that in his soul as he goes opposite lane.
Yeah, that firecracker didn't react either, and they were both kind of sitting there staring at what was happening. A couple good shots, though, in from the Hog Rider of Arden Toas. Closes the gap a bit to about 800 HP. Double elixir now starting to flow, and while these decks both are Hog cycle decks, that extra elixir for the Mega Knight and Prince should benefit Ruben.
Yeah, and you know, if you're Arden Toas, you got to start to figure out how can I really abuse my Evoed Firecrackers and my 3-card cycle with my Monk, right? Because, you know, for the same conversation I was just having about dealing with the bats, you look at Ruben's responses to that Evoed Firecracker, also not a lot of great ones.
Hog does sneak in, Snowball to slow the defense.
And this Firecracker Ridge can cause a lot of problems.
Evo Archer's trying to snipe the Firecracker, and they do just in time.
And a little late is that Firecracker and the Monk.
Oh my word, that was a
reflected arrows.
Yeah, we don't see that often, unless you're watching, you know, one of our many YouTubers' videos on when it first came out. And jumps! Oh my word! All Ruben has to do is stop this Hog Rider, and he is good to go. Archers, bats,
and
there you go.
And even then, Ruben goes archers at the bridge, early snowball from Arden, late bats, and that just shows you how dialed Ruben is right now.
That was tremendous, and you see Ruben just feeling it right now, and I'm pretty sure I can see on screen right now that Josh is either asking a question or just praising him for the moment, because just like everybody, we're Clash Royale fans.
I know, and when you watch someone play that clean as a world champ, I mean, again, at the start of the day, we had 3 world champions, all of them still hanging around. Mugi and Ruben have already checked their ticket for the day. Mo's the only one remaining.
Well, let's go down to the floor and see what Ruben has to say about this wonderful performance.
So, how did you know to get so aggressive in game number 1?
¿Cómo subiste ser tan agresivo en el primer juego?
Vale, en cuanto sé que gastó arqueras, sé que él iba a intentar activarme la central con el Baby Dragon, entonces fui con todo para que no me activase la central.
So I knew he was gonna go central with Baby Dragon, so I went with everything to get him.
Okay, and 6 wins in a row now. Are you at your peak skill level in Clash?
Pues 6 victorias consecutivas ahora. ¿Estás tú en tu habilidad más alta en Clash?
Bueno, como dije ayer, me enfadó mucho perder en el winner así y hoy vengo a darlo todo y espero mañana seguir avanzando.
As I said yesterday, I was very upset to lose that way, so I came all guns blazing this time, and I'm gonna continue to go forward like that tomorrow.
Day number 3 on its way. How does it feel to make it to that final day?
El tercer día está llegando. ¿Cómo te sientes para mañana?
La verdad estoy muy contento de llegar hasta el final y voy a prepararme para mañana y a darlo todo.
Well, I'm very happy to be in the final, and I'm gonna get myself ready for tomorrow to come with everything.
6 wins in a row for this guy. All these players are catching fire right now, and yeah, I don't think we're done for the day, right?
No, we are not done, and also not done is Ruben, because he's going to go ahead to our next round where he's going to await the loser tomorrow of Pandora versus Pedro.
Yeah.
So no more big matches in Ruben's future, but the match that we just saw, again, vintage Ruben, and I think he agrees.
Yeah, and I would love to see that rematch between him and Pedro. Not saying that I want Pedro to go down to lower bracket, but who doesn't love a good rematch? But yeah, I mean, you talk about the way that Ruben is playing, and you look at the decks that he picked, and I love it because, you know, we talk so much about him being predictable or him going back to the same stuff, but he's just put a little bit of a swerve on all of those things. Game number 1, you love to see someone, and I know Juice is up here in the booth too, but you love to see someone playing Graveyard and just recognize the smallest mistake and abuse it. I mean, I was just talking to him the other day about the 20 win. I threw out 1 bar barrel, I felt it, and I was like, I'm gonna lose the game to this GUI push. That's exactly what happened to Arden. Let's go to deck number 2 here. We're talking about Hog Rider on both sides, both going to Comfort. Arden Toas rocking Hog Rider almost 40 times in the regular season with the almost 70% win rate. You go to Ruben, it's the same conversation, except he was so regularly going to quick cycle Hog. This time he goes beat down Hog, if you will, and it counters this Hog deck very, very well because you get these great counter pushes and you cannot get on those bats. Juice, what are your thoughts on that great best of 3 that Ruben just dominated?
Yeah, I think once again it really just goes back to those deck picks, like you were just mentioning, the arrows for the Firecracker.
Yep.
You know, the Mega Knight Prince combo, it's known for countering cycle decks, and then he had a Hog himself with an Earthquake himself to counter the building as well. The spells, the troops, everything were on point, and we're going to break it down right here for you guys. Hog Rider, that one, just a bait. Yes, the Hog on the left gets a couple shots, but then these evil archers, really want him the game because this Firecracker was getting so much value just a second before, but now that it's gone, watch what happens. Ghost applying pressure off the lane, forces the Monk not to the left, but more centered. And what that allowed to happen is it made it so this Mega Knight actually got pulled from the left to the right here as he's trying to counter that Ghost. And all of a sudden, there is 1, 2, 3, 4 troops attacking this right-hand side tower, and it just drops.
Brutal.
A lot on the board, and it gets it done. And you talked about it right there, the great work with the Evo Archers to open up that moment. And that was beautiful by Ruben.
Yeah, you know, and again, I feel like all of our world champions are coming through so strong right now. I mean, look at the bottom of your screen and the top. Mugi, 4-0 through 2 days. Josh just called it out. Ruben, 6-0 since getting sent down to that lower bracket. Momo, 4-0 since going down to that lower bracket. That is why these guys are former world champions and our reigning defending. The other thing I want to point out is look at Arden. Look at his career this year. This is not the way he probably wanted World Finals to end, but you think about the way it could have gone, the way that people were talking about it, and while he did just get eliminated, he has nothing to be sad about. He had an exceptional run here in 2023.
Yeah, you definitely have to chalk that up to an overall win for him this time around. And you know, speaking of winning, we have a couple more players trying to win for the chance to face either Mugi or Air Surfer.
Is that a win?
Yeah, I know, right? Hopefully they can face Mugi or Air Surfer in an elimination match. Let's go ahead down to Josh, who's gonna get this match going for us.
The defending world champ trying to make another lower bracket run against the newcomer to the World Final stage who shows that he's as cold as ice. We have Mo and Adriel.
And Adriel walking out like he's going to the store to pick up extra supplies, and Mohamed one more time walking out like it's just another day at the office.
I mean, both of them just look cold-blooded in that last set. And remember, you know, sometimes people talk about the pressure of coming right back out, but there's also the groove that you get into. You know, you're in rhythm. You know, we've also heard pros talk about coming out game number 1 and being a little cold. That is not the case for these two. They are warmed up, they're ready to go. And Adriel has a chance to knock out our our current defending world champion. And then for Adriel, the same thing applies in the sense of, I'm going up against Momo. This has got to be a little horrifying.
And let's see what y'all say about this matchup. Who do you think's gonna win? And 90-10 for Mohamed Light. And again, I said this yesterday. That means that people have to pick. If we had the other slider of who do you think will win and how confident are you in that, that number might be more like 55-45.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I mean, it's you have to pick Mohamed Light in this sense. You got a rookie going up against the reigning defending champion who got number 2 the year before that. Yeah. This year he was untouched. He won almost every single golden ticket. It's wrong to not bet on him, but I agree. 55-45 sounds about right.
Well, let's go ahead and let these guys settle it for themselves. Mohamed Light, Adriel starts now.
Mohamed Light and Adriel met 3 times earlier this year, with Momo taking the best of that 3, going 2-1. And again, you talk about these numbers. The win percentage, 15% different, but the game wins is just insane there for Mo.
And Adriel opening Goblins, then Phoenix. An immediate poison response from Mohamed Light.
A lot of Monk today, a lot of Phoenix today. And Momo might just be going straight up control, which, you know, that is someone that can really control the pace. Mo not happy about something. He's definitely been a little bit more emotive here in 2023.
And look at that, yeah, I mean, you could make a whole bunch of GIFs just of Mo's expressions. Someone get on that. I'm sure there's someone out there who can make those happen.
And right back to the smiles is Momo as he's setting up for this defense against this Royal Giant. And then pretty happy to probably defend, get another minor in. Just wait for that Evo RG.
He might have thought he had a different matchup until he saw that RG pop.
I mean, at first he was probably thinking maybe it's Lim.
I feel like we didn't see Monk pretty much at all for months on end.
I think because of how strong Evo'd archers are, people are just saying, I need to force in more champions. And then I think that starts to open up the door to all the other champions and how they used to be. Look at those late archers.
Oh,
and
boy,
the reflect works.
Oh my word.
Is beside himself, Rich.
A fully healthy Royal Giant, and Mohamed can do nothing but sit and stare as it just goes boom, boom, bye-bye tower.
You see jaws dropped around the room, people biting their nails looking at our defending world champion just get caught looking before we even get into double.
I think he really expected that the Monk was on the other side of the RG and that those evolved archers would go straight to the Royal Giant instead.
That range, though.
Yeah. The range, and then, you know, keep in mind that the Monk it's not just around the Monk. That Monk has a tiny aura when it casts that, and it must have been just on the right tile for that aura to catch those archer reflectors.
That is a great thing for you to point out there, and maybe something that Mo wishes you would have said to him before that game. And now Momo in a horrible spot. We all know being down a tower, playing Minor Poison, there's basically no way to come back. But if anyone in the world can do it, it's that man at the top of the screen.
He's gonna pull out all the stops here, but this is just, he knows it too. Reset, get ready for game number 2, and yeah, there you go. Waves the white flag. And now it's time to go look at that deck progression and figure out what do you do now that Fisherman, Phoenix, Fireball, Royal Giant are all off the board.
I mean, I'm nervous. This is a crazy start to this set. And obviously, it's not that I didn't expect Adriel to even pick up a game, but it's how he did it. It was based off of the fact of a mistake from Mo, which is something that happens very, very rarely. And then even when he does make mistakes, which again, happens incredibly rarely, the ability to not be able to bounce back and just kind of run over there, it's something that I'm sure he's gonna have to be able to bounce back from, but that's a rough blow to your confidence.
It's really interesting to look at the kind of difference as these two guys both prepare for this next game, as you saw Adriel just staying in his phone as Mohamed Light goes to a paper, and I'll let you go ahead and take this replay.
I mean, this is just what we're talking about at the beginning. I mean, somehow you talk about those archers just not being able to put in the work that they want. The Monk is still incredibly healthy. The log from Mo as well gets reflected. Insult to injury there. The Monk is still taking for the RG, and at this point we have an RG with 80% health, no gas in the tank for Mo, no good way to get on top of it because the Mighty Miner is not going to do what you need. Archers are out of cycle, and as quickly as that game started, like I said, it's just out the window.
I mean, that Monk was almost on the opposite side of the Royal Giant.
I was sure it was not going to be able to deflect the archers. I was actually about to commend Mo on the great placement of the archers.
Well, that's how that ability works, and let's talk about what I was getting to is you saw them as they finish, and Adriel staying in his phone, just kind of right there. Mohamed Light, you can see the paper he has in his hand. A lot of these players coming in with these really intricate deck progressions.
Yeah.
And the moment that was over, Mo was looking at that going, okay, well, I need to pull out something big here, and going through all those possibilities, that preparation has to pay off right now.
And the calm from Adriel, I mean, that's why I wanted to talk to him about it before. You know he's nervous right now, but again, he just looks like he's got ice through his veins, playing beyond his years. And now we're in a spot where our defending, reigning, undisputed champion of the world is one game away from elimination. You can see right here, I mean, people are beside themselves.
Yeah, this is a tight one for him, and obviously you can see feeling the stress a little bit is not only Mohamed Light, but the Mohamed Light supporters here in the room. But of course, he has been here multiple times before. This is the place that he works best. So now the question here is, can Adriel overcome Mo in a spot where he works well? Let's go ahead. Game number 2 starts now. Might have just seen a little bit of a gulp there from Adriel, so he might be showing the most stress we've seen him have so far.
And you can definitely see a bit of stress on the face of our reigning champion as we are about to hop into game 2 of this lower bracket set with Momo's back against the wall. And still showing that championship caliber personality. A good luck comes out from Mo. And the zap early on from Adriel. Definitely have not been seeing a lot of zap or drill. So a surprise here.
Is this Sparky against Drill? And the Bandit connects, wow!
A zap in both directions and a huge early swing for Mohamed Light.
And that is very, very big. Mohamed Light, is he running Zap Poison or Zap Fireball here with Drill? You'd feel like it would be Fireball. And having a Zap against a Sparky will be wonderfully nice.
Absolutely. Again, it's so funny how this happens when you don't see a spell all day and then it comes out on both sides. So 2 small spells here for Adriel, and that's something that Mo is definitely going to be paying attention to.
And Evo Bats in this situation is honestly somewhat mind-blowing.
And the Zap to reset on top. Guardian coming out. Mo sequencing this defense absolutely perfect.
And not quite enough to give Adriel the big shot. And as we get past halfway of our opening 3, Mohamed Light with a massive damage lead.
That little prince was just millimeters away from that tower and still does not get the splash. A huge bit of fortune there for our champ. 22-54 to 29-94 as a pump comes down.
And just trying to take advantage of that pump by getting the wall breakers down. Bandit gets picked up by the gang. Drill clearly is going to go to that pump to get it off the board. And now Evo Bat's going to be tanked for by this Goblin Drill. Arrows have to come out. King Tower
activation. And you can see Mo knows, yeah, that's probably what's going to happen when you go drill to the back and your opponent actually kind of misses the spell.
And that's going to make things like this a lot easier for Adriel to deal with as time goes on.
Excuse me, don't you know who I am?
43 seconds remain in regulation. Mohamed Light does have the lead in the game, but not in the set.
Zap to reset here. Goblin Gang goes right-hand lane. Bar Barrel out front to protect the little prince. It does stay up. Bandit works on the gang on the right-hand side, and now Wall Breakers in front of the Bandit force the Zap out.
And Mo looks like he's in a very good cycle right now, Rich.
And that's going to be good damage from the Guardian and some nice chip off of the Goblin Giant. 8:26 left in the left-hand lane. Mohamed Light in the driver's seat.
Pressure on the right here. Momo gets those Evo Bats down. You know he's going to support him. Bandit there, Evo Bats there. Barbs come down.
Zap, and we have not seen a big spell out of Mohamed yet.
And the pump now threatening in the back. And look at that sellout push, Rich.
Yeah, the lane change here. Just make sure that Adriel's playing the game that Mo wants to play, not getting in his own rhythm.
And those bats come down, maybe another drill left lane. Mo is the king of dual lane pressure.
And I was going to say, if we had Fireball, this is when you'd see it, but not happening. So has to defend against this Goblin Giant and contend with the Sparky plus the Barbs. Dual lane pressure now being forced out by Adriel. Zap to reset, 120 left.
Nice zap there from Mo. Good pressure here on the left side. Barbs plus minions, and the MK finally comes down. Soaks up the damage on the left, takes the Sparky shot on the right, but Rich, that's a lot with very little elixir.
Oh, and the Sparky looks like it's on tower. The Sparky hits. Goblin Giant plus Evolved Barbs are in. Oh my word! Is Adriel gonna do it? Is Adriel gonna do it? He does it! Adriel beats the champion!
Mohamed Light is eliminated from the 2023 World Finals by a rookie!
Oh my word! Scenes, Andrew, the scenes.
I am speechless. That was incredible, and as much as it hurts my heart to say goodbye to Mo, you gotta tip your hat to a brilliant set by Adriel.
Just, again, putting the pedal to the metal at the right time and recognizing that opening. The Mega Knight, 7 elixir, takes a lot of damage. There was so much on it. Here we go, taking a look at the replay. This Sparky survives. The Mega Knight comes in. You got Barbs, you got Minions, you got Goblins, and you got that Sparky. Mega Knight cannot hold enough, and this drill tries to do something, but it does not get there in time, and Adriel recognizes this is it. This is the moment.
The brilliant dual lane pressure there. The MK has to come down in the middle. Not on the Sparky, not on the Barbs. And then you think about, well, I need to get this drill out now. Maybe I can push the Sparky back, but the Goblin Giant is right there. All things drawn up correctly by Adriel, who I can't imagine what he has to say right now.
Okay. You knocked out the defending world champion. How does that feel?
Ok, entonces, noqueaste el campeón mundial que está defendiendo el título. ¿Cómo te sientes?
Me siento súper bien de poder ganarle al campeón mundial y también súper feliz de pasar al día 3.
I'm super happy to have defeated the world champion, but I'm also very happy to be going to day 3.
That's right. So day number 3 is on its way. How do you prepare for those incoming matches?
Pues el día 3 ya está llegando. ¿Cómo te preparas para los juegos que vas a tener mañana?
Seguiré entrenando para poder dar lo mejor de mí y mañana con todo.
I will keep on, training, and I'll give my best to come with all my energy tomorrow.
Only 10% of people thought you would be able to win this set. Do you have any words for your supporters?
En la votación de quién ganaría este partido, solamente 10% hicieron que sería tú. ¿Hay algo que tienes para decir a estas personas que te estaban ahí dando el soporte?
Gracias por siempre estar conmigo y no irse con la otra persona que está más a favor.
Thank you so much for staying with me and not going with somebody else that is doing a little better.
Beautiful stuff right there, Adriel. Congratulations on the win against the defending world champion. Give it up for Adriel. Wow!
2023, clearly the year of breakout stars. Pedro still around, Adriel still around, Air Surfer up in the winner's bracket. Jackson, talk to me right now.
I mean, I just want to go along with your point. I was backstage with Josh watching that match, and the whole time I was like, Mo's gonna win, right? And it's like, no. And I was like, this is a new era. That was the words that came out of my mouth, and it is so true. Adriel shocking us all with this performance.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the decks from this matchup. Game number 1, the Royal Giant of Adriel versus Mohamed Light, and it only took one big moment where the Monk got the reflection against those Evo archers, opened up a huge door, and just Mohamed Light getting caught by a key interaction. Then we go on to deck number 2, and take a look at this. The Goblin Giant Sparky and Mohamed Light gets some good pieces here. Some good opportunities, especially that zap. But Jackson, things just changed in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and I think that heartbeat really was when Adriel decided to not defend his Elixir Pump at all, realizing that the Goblin Drill was going to activate King Tower. At that point, it made defense so much easier, and it got Mohamed Light in a very difficult cycle where he had 2 pushes to deal with and not the right cards.
And this is not just the year of the breakout star, but it's the World Finals of unpredictable results. Let's take a look at our caster predictions on the day. We did fare much better today overall than yesterday, right? All of us picking Air Surfer, all of us picking Mugi.
Speak for yourself.
The difference there, right? And then as we start to get further and further down, the front end, pretty good. Andrew coming out hot all day, only missing 2 calls, but 2 big ones with Samuel Basoto and, of course, this Mohamed Light versus Adriel matchup.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, it was the biggest surprise of the day. I mean, wow, what a beautiful game of Clash Royale, and I cannot wait to see day 3 coming up tomorrow.
That's when we crown a world champion. We are down to just 6 competitors remaining as we look at our bracket. Here's what's in store for you tomorrow. Kicking things off will be Air Surfer versus Mugi in the upper bracket. The loser of that matchup will drop down to face Adriel in the later match. Pandora versus Pedro, match number 2. The winners of those 2 matches will appear in our upper bracket finals. They are guaranteed top 3 if you win one of those 2 matches. And then, of course, as I said before, either Air Surfer or Mugi will face Adriel, and Pandora or Pedro will drop down to that lower bracket to face Ruben and try to make a run through the lower bracket back up. But these matches now get even more critical because it's not just about getting more money, not just about going for the championship, but those upper bracket matches, Juicy, are about maintaining that advantage of a life to give.
Yeah, you're so right. And as we are nearing the top 4, I want to remind you all, first place, 250,000, second, 125,000, then 80 and 65,000. Top 4 is the real money here today.
It's been a Fascinating day, a wonderful day, and we've got one more day for you tomorrow. But first, let's take a look at some of the best moments from day 2.
Day where the rookies ran rampant as our former world champions tried to hang on. Ruben undefeated in the lower bracket. Mugi undefeated in the upper bracket. It was just Momo who needed to hang on, but maybe the biggest upset in Clash Royale history, not just this weekend, taken out by Adriel. No one saw it coming, but a beautiful display as we have to say goodbye to Momo, and we will not be having another repeat champion in our upper bracket. Pandora, Pedro, Air Surfer, and Mugi still sitting pretty. But it just like that, 1, 2, 3, Mo, Morten, and Sam have been eliminated. And day 3, who knows what could happen.
The lights were bright. If you thought the lights were bright on day 1, if you thought they shined brighter on day number 2, the pressure is on. The lights will be in their eyes on day number 3. You can catch all the action right here in the same place, 1400 UTC tomorrow, where we will crown the 2023 Clash Royale League World Champion. For this whole team here working hard to bring you some great Clash Royale, that is Joshua A.C. Sharon, Jackson Juicy J. Wall, Andrew Guy, a great team here ready for our day 3. We'll see you tomorrow where we crown our world champion.